Oh, baby. The first best ball breakfast with the NFL schedule released. It is time to start correlating, game stacking, bring backing, all of that great stuff. And we got our usual programming today, a solo draft with me to kick things off. Then we'll have Pat Kerrane from Legendary Upside swing by, then Mike Leone from ETR, and our special guest today, none other than Kendall Valenzuela over at Fantasy Life. Super excited for that one as well. I'm Pete. This is Best Ball Breakfast. Let's do it. It really isn't that hard, guys. You just go top two, win it, win it. Okay, I think we can be done here at running back. You only have 3 running backs. This roster is littered with game theory, arbitrage, exploits, and theoretical reasoning. Bro, light mode, my eyes, dude. I don't know. I prefer that move more in a time box contest. Bro, have you ever scrolled so far down that, like, there's no more names, bro? Don't do drugs, kids. Draft and drive instead. You can't have it both ways, dude. Quid pro quo. All right, GMs all around. How are we doing today on Best Ball Breakfast? I feel like the light on my underdog sign is a little bright. Can I bring it down? April comes into my office and she just starts mashing buttons. There's this little controller here for it. And I came in here the other day and it was like a strobe light pulsating in here. She also, her favorite activity is just getting in my car. And I just have this old manual transmission Toyota Corolla, and she climbs in there. And luckily there's not that many bells and whistles to play with, but I'll come in, the hazards will be on, you know, the safety locks are on. It's just, it's complete disarray trying to get my devices back to where I want. But I think, oops, see, and then it turns off. See, that's how you got to be careful there. But if it's too bright, it doesn't look good either. So this is, you guys get to see how the sausage gets made here on Best Ball Breakfast. I guess that's as good as we're going to do for now. Matthew is fired up here to start a Monday with some best ball. I just hopped in a draft here, tipped you guys off in the Discord first. If you'd like to join in, you know what? I made a mistake. Did I make a mistake? Did I accidentally join a 20-second? I accidentally joined a 20-second. That is my bad. I've been so used to drafting, hopping in the 20-second drafts by myself that I forgot on shows I do the 30 seconds. 3 more for the 30 seconds. Sorry for the confusion there. What is up, Willis? Willis still knows nothing about the schedule. We did a fun show on ship chasing last week where we were going through every matchup, trying to come up with the mnemonic devices to help us remember them, and literally just brainstorming thgoing for a full hour has them permanently ingrained in my head. So in today, you know, we're going to be raw dogging. I don't have any ranks in. I don't even have the overlays yet for the schedule. I got it all up here. Just week 17 though, not 16. All right, let me get the draft board up there. This is my 19th Best Ball Mania draft. All of them have been streamed or done on video in some sort. I did After Dark with Michael Dubner over the weekend on Saturday. We ended up drafting a team there. And I also have a video that'll be coming out on the Deposit Kingdom, hopefully later today, where I drafted a team with Easy from the Deposit Kingdom, going through all the various correlation boosts that we might need to start thinking about with our team. So all kinds of draft content, After Dark, Deposit Kingdom, Best Ball Breakfast, drafting. Yeah. If you don't have any real-time assistance, how are you expecting to compete? No, this is, you know, people said it was too easy. People said the teams I were drafting were so nutted. They said, why even draft anymore? No need to draft anymore. Pete already drafted the winner 8 times over. So yeah, we're straight raw dogging it here today. Also, before I forget, logging into my account, if you guys, I don't know if it went out to everybody, but a lot of people had deposit bonuses on Underdog over the weekend. I had one that was up to a 25% match. The one thing you got to watch out for is you have to play through the bonus part within 14 days. So if you deposit $1,000 and you get $250 in bonus cash, you need to enter up to $250 in contests or pick'ems in 14 days. You don't have to play through your initial deposit, just whatever the bonus is. So take advantage of that and enjoy. All right, let's see here. I'm at the 110 in my 19th draft. We have Jeanty here, falls to 10. ARSB goes ahead of him. I'm going to go ahead and grab Nico Collins, though, give myself a little flexibility here at pick 15. I don't know, man, guys. I think in my heart of hearts, I'm a little scared about Jeanty. I know that might be blasphemous. I know that we're all just slamming it in on Ashton Jeanty, greatest running back prospect since Saquon Barkley. And I'm not going to full fade Jeanty, so everybody just relax. I'm just being honest. On a Monday morning, I'm just slightly scared about Ashton Jeanty. Okay? That's all I'm saying. This has nothing to do with a wide receiver avalanche. This is completely position agnostic. I'm just slightly scared of Ashton Jeanty. And this took a lot for me to say to all of you guys. I think this take has been marinating deep down inside, and it just came out as I stared at Ashton Jeanty on the clock at 1-9. See, I knew people would be worried. They wouldn't like this take. How dare I say anything bad about Ashton Jeanty? And I'm not even saying anything bad about it. I'm just telling you how I feel. I'm allowed to tell you how I feel. And I need to pour some coffee after I make this pick as well. Maybe I'll pass on Jeanty and draft Derrick Henry. And then you'll really know that I've lost it. 112 gets the Jeanty CMC combo, which is going to be pretty rare. So good for, NF42 there. I think this might be, should I get my first Derrick Henry share and just really own the libs today? Pass on Jeanty to draft Derrick Henry. We'll see what K White does. Is he going to bleed the clock down? No, he goes Drake London. All right, let's do it. Let's own it. Derrick Henry. You got to pass on Ashton Jeanty to draft Derrick Henry. Big dog, come on down. This year is about humility. It's about humility. I believe this is my first Derrick Henry share. I should go look in my current drafts here if I've done a single big dog. Let's see. Nope, just Hunter Henry. There you guys go. Live on the Pete Overzet YouTube channel. You finally observed it. Me drafting Derrick Henry with Nico Collins. And with that, it's time to pour some coffee. Henry Nico with the week 15, 17 correlation dip. All right. Yeah. What was the, was that last year's? Was that, yeah, Ravens, was it Ravens Texans last year? I think so. See, this is the stuff I can hear someone saying, Pete, you don't need to be worried about Jeanty. They just drafted him top 10. It's Pete Carroll. They're gonna give him the ball as many times as he can handle, blah, blah, blah. But saying Nico over Jeanty is blasphemy. I don't really think so. I think it's really close. Like if you wanted to take Puka, Nabers, Nico, even BTJ over Jeanty, I don't really think I think it's that crazy. It's kind of just how you want to build your teams. If you like your teams with that round one running back. But I think the 2v2s, like the Nabers JT 2v2 versus, let's say, like a Jeanty Lad. I don't know, man. I think I'm Nabers JT in that 2v2. Yes, JB, I'm aware that Derrick Henry plays the Green Bay Packers. You want to know how I'm aware of that? Because I have all of the Week 17 matchups memorized. Every single last one of them in my head, for better or worse, and they will stick there forever. They will stick there forever. Man, I didn't even make I was too busy thinking about Ashton Jeanty that I literally don't even remember my coffee pour. I don't remember if it was a good one. I don't know if it was a mediocre one. I was just so terrified looking into the future of Derrick Henry, Ashton Jeanty, that I didn't even remember my coffee pour. Okay, Pete remembers the poor. The Malik Willis Bowl. That is another way to remember it. Kerrane had some punch-ups on one. I did like what he settled on for Jets Patriots. Drake's on a plane was very good. Yeah, I think for the Derrick Henry one, I did high T, low temperatures and high T for Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs going at it in the frozen tundra of Green Bay in the dead of winter. Are you finding drafts to be more difficult since the schedule release? I don't think so. I haven't noticed any meaningful shift. I mean, there's been a few ADPs. I think one spot with Chicago and the Niners, I've noticed people getting more competitive to lock up Caleb Williams and Brock Purdy. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and grab a wide receiver here. I've been gravitating to Xavier Worthy. Is there anything with Green Bay here or Los Angeles that we need to consider? No. All right, we'll grab Xavier Worthy here at pick 310. But no, I haven't noticed anything meaningfully different. The note about Chicago and the Niners is you have so many players on those teams going in like rounds 4 through 8 that I've noticed people are now fighting over those stacks with Kaleb around, pick 95, Brock Purdy around 100, and they tend to go a little bit earlier. But I haven't noticed anything too dissimilar from the pre-draft stuff yet. All right, let's see what K White does here. Should we grab a Lamar? Let's do this. Let's rip it in on the Ravens here. There's not that many fun pieces for correlating on the Ravens. It's just a pretty condensed offense. So let's go ahead and take a drink when I say make a big bet. Make a big bet on the Ravens. Lamar Jackson at pick 39, Derrick Henry. Our second round pick, Nico Collins and Xavier Worthy here. And we'll build out a bit of a different team than normal, and we'll see if we get punished for it. I expect to get punished for it. Yeah, Mike Deck liked the some of the suggestions over on Ship Chasing. Penix staph infection. You will never forget that the Rams pay the Falcons. Hawk Chuba is a really good one there for Seahawks versus Panthers. Yeah, my favorite was Bow and Arrow. Bo Nix playing at Arrowhead. That one will never escape your head. What's your favorite slot to draft from so far? I like the back half of the board. Mainly because these early combos you can get are nice. This drafter was able to get a Jeanty CMC because an idiot streamer passed on Jeanty, but you can often get, Brian Thomas or Nico paired with CMC. I think you're getting like high-end wide receiver 1 upside and like legit top 5 running back upside. Whereas I feel like after this kind of, pick 18, 19 range, there's a pretty big tier gap for me here. So the players you're pairing at the top of the board just don't feel as strong, specifically the 101 too. Like we all like getting Jamar Chase, but you're often looking at this Marvin Harrison, Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson tier. We're going to start to get a ton of chalk with Trey McBride, T Higgins, Marvin Harrison as people correlate that game. So yeah, I prefer the back end of round 1. Jets drops bomb says more important secondary item, week 17 mini stacks or week 15, 16 bring back for week 17 stacks. So I assume you mean like your biggest team level stacks. I think they're both pretty interesting. If we look at the advancement, the week 16 is going to be more important. So 1 of 13, 1 of 16, that 1 of 16 is going to be tough. So I think we had this argument last year. I made a video on the Deposit Kingdom channel about it, about the week 16 versus week 17 stuff. I think using that as a second level of tiebreaker is completely fine. I still will break slight ties in favor of week 17 mini stacks, but I think, starting to think about week 16 bringbacks, if you have an Omega stack for a team, like say I build out this huge Ravens stack, yeah, it would be nice to have a bring back for both Green Bay and their Week 16 opponent. All right, let's see here. When does Randomizer start? Yes, great question. A week from Wednesday. A week from Wednesday. So next week, there's going to be no Best Ball Breakfast because it is Memorial Day. However, a new show will be launching on Wednesdays, and it's going to be 2 parts. The second part will be Randomizer. Let me make this pick, and I can continue to discuss this here. I think we need to grab some wide receivers here. So let's go ahead and grab Jordan Addison, and we'll see what comes back to us in the 6th round. But yeah, so this is the plan. Instead of having the Randomizer be its own standalone show, I want to have it be a part of a bigger block. So there's going to be a new show that's going to be every Wednesday at 1 p.m. And then Randomizer will be within that streaming block. I'm going to announce that new show later this week. There's a little promo video getting edited for that right now. But it'll be the new show followed by Randomizer every week, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. And we got Ian Hartitz booked for the debut episode this year. Always enjoy drafting with him. Let's see. I'm going to grab one of these wide receivers. We got Rome. We got Jawan Jennings, who I take a ton. Debo Samuel. We got Jerry Jeudy here. Let's see. Denver, Minnesota there. I'm going to grab Jawan Jennings. He's been one of my kind of comfy clicks in this range, getting a ton of him. We'll take him right at ADP. So here's our team through 6 rounds. Lamar in the big dog at quarterback and running back. Nico Collins, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, and Jawan Jennings at wide receiver. Nick is in on Addison. Yeah, I think he's a strong pick. I'm pretty excited about the Vikings offense. I guess you just have some of that lingering suspension stuff that's kind of keeping his price in check. Although there's a pretty strong wall of wide receivers here. Pickens, DK Metcalf, Ridley, Waddle, Godwin. His ADP feels fairly insulated. You know, it would be hard to see him rise too much. Like, even if you just said there's 0 suspension risk, is he going ahead of Calvin Ridley? Is he going ahead of Metcalf or Pickens? Probably not. But I do think he's a strong pick. Yeah. Our 12-hole drafter here, they threw some testosterone in their coffee. Ashton Jeanty, CMC, and then RJ Harvey, Kenneth Walker, only 1 wide receiver through 6 rounds. Bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how it works out for them. Zeus is calling a shot on Judkins, says he's undervalued. This guy could get 20 touches from week 1, bad offense or not. Yeah, I don't even know. It's funny because I don't think I disagree with the second part, but I might disagree with the first part. So Judkins is undervalued. This guy could get 20 touches week 1. Absolutely. I think the thought or the issue is that the touches could be pretty low calorie touches. You know, if he's not catching a lot of passes, if the Cleveland Browns are struggling to move the ball, if they don't have lots of red zone trips, etc. I think it's fair to worry about the overall upside of the offense and how many kind of red zone trips that results in. But to your point, are there scenarios where he could have, you know, a Chuba Hubbard-esque season where it's like a bad team where the volume is still there? Maybe he catches a few more passes than expected. I think there are lots of risk points, though. You know, I think we're still going to see a little bit of Jerome Ford. I think they really like Dylan Sampson and would maybe want to get him some touches. So I know the draft capital's there. He's a good player. But I guess where I would settle is that he's fairly valued. You know, in this range, we see David Montgomery go 71, James Conner 72, Judkins 73, Caleb Johnson 74. Obviously, his touch upside is probably bigger than David Montgomery. David Montgomery's touchdown upside way higher. James Conner kind of gives you a blend of both, probably similar touch upside there. But yeah, Judkins is not a guy I'm full out avoiding, but I still prefer Trevion Henderson. Obviously, I prefer RJ Harvey. And it is interesting depending on how you're building, because he does kind of fall in this range where the wide receivers are starting to dry up. So, you know, if you're taking Judkins here, you know, you see Reed, Ayuk, Golden come off the board, and we're starting to get to the bottom of that tier of wide receivers. So he's in an interesting range And I'm not sure he's overvalued. Let's see here. Khalil Shakir on this team. Buffalo with Philly. Got to remember the cheesesteaks and buffalo wings there. I don't mind Shakir. We could also do, you know what? Let's have some fun here. I think on this team, we got 4 solid guys up top. Let's go Luther Burden. We'll play a little week 17 correlation there with Chicago and San Francisco and give us a little bit more of an upside crack. I have been taking Shakir in situations where I'm a little thinner at wide receiver. Maybe he's my wide receiver 3 in the 7th round there. But I think with 4 early, grabbing my 5th, let's take a bigger cut here with Luther Burden. And we get that correlation boost. Wow. Corey coming in hot. Corey, I haven't seen you in a while, man. How are you doing? My number 1 can't lose cheat code of drafts this summer. First of all, not financial advice. Second of all, there is no skeleton key. Let me think through that for a second after I make this pick. Joey, you did miss the pour, but you're in luck because I'm almost done with this first glass here. All right, let's see. What do we want to do here? We could let's do Aaron Jones. I have not selected him a lot. We have Jordan Addison here. He falls a few picks past ADP. I think getting a running back 2 in this range is solid. I could easily reach for an Igbuka, a Downs, play the double stack with Nico, with Jaden Higgins, but let's stick a little closer to ADP here and get our running back 2. But yeah, let me think about this question. My can't lose cheat code of drafts this summer. The first thing that comes to mind to me is, and this was kind of what I was preaching last year too, but being willing to correlate beyond just your primary stacks. So if you have a 2 quarterback build, everyone's going to gravitate to those pass catching stacks with the quarterback. But I think the thing that gets lost is honestly kind of what I just did there with pairing Aaron Jones with Jordan Addison in those secondary team stacks, pairing the teammates there, where I think sometimes the correlation just gets framed as a pass catcher to a quarterback exclusively, because those things exist one-to-one, on a per play basis. And I think what's lost is a lot of this correlation benefit is also for the season-long purpose of, can we identify an undervalued offense, or can we land on an offense that hits? And I think cherry picking a couple of pieces from multiple teams can, again, accomplish what we're trying to do with the team stacks, which is eliminate the number of things we have to get right. So being willing to correlate beyond just the stacks, I think, is something that I really want to prioritize. I don't think it is a can't lose cheat code by any means. So maybe I didn't answer your question, but it's something I think is maybe underappreciated by correlators. Ragnar's asking me more about the deposit bonus. I missed that part and can't find more info. Do you have to play through the bonus or the principal in 14 days? Just the bonus. Just the bonus. Let me see if I can go into my account and I can show you my transaction here. So what did I do? I put in, you can see here, I deposited $1,000 via PayPal over the weekend, and I got a $250 bonus. And then you can go and see in my, oops, now I lost my account details here. Let's see here. You can see here, this is my bonus. So it is including the full $1,250 there. But now look at here. The timer is clicking next to the bonus. So I've already spent, whatever, can I do math? $71 of my bonus. And I have 12 days to spend through the remaining $250. The $1,000 that I deposited does not need to be played through. So it's just through this $179 bonus that needs to be played through. And as always, if you guys are new to Underdog and want to take advantage of those, promo code Pete will get you up to $1,000 deposit match as well. All right, I am on the clock here. What do we want to do? We probably want to be in the business of grabbing another running back. I like Cam Skattebo here with the Giants. Slides, 7 picks past ADP. Get us a third running back in this range here. Nothing I really wanted to do at running back. So let's go ahead and grab Cam Skattebo as our running back 3. And now we have Lamar. We have Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Cam Skattebo at running back, Nico, Xavier Worthy, Addison, Juwan Jennings, Luther Burden at wide receiver. And unfortunately, I missed out on Mark Andrews by 1 pick. I just noticed that because that would have been an awesome selection for me there. But that's the way she goes. Just the way she goes. All right, we are back on the clock. I think what we should do here is get our second quarterback. You know, you could make an argument. I could make an argument to sit on my second quarterback because I do have Stroud and McCarthy. I think I'm going to do that. Let's grab a tight end. Let's go ahead and grab a tight end. We'll get some week 17 correlation with Engram and Xavier Worthy playing opposite of each other. We'll grab a tight end here with a little bit of upside in Evan Engram. And I think just for my tiebreaker, I have Lamar. So knowing that CJ Stroud stacks, knowing that McCarthy stacks, and that this range here is going to be more favorable, I think, to the quarterbacks as far as just where the value's at. Let's punt that QB2, take advantage of the fact that we have an elite quarterback and don't need to spend as much, even though the Brock Purdy stack with Juwan Jennings is obviously nice at that price. We'll go ahead and prioritize some other positions here. Skattebo over Tutu is wild to me. You know what, Bindles? I think I might be with you. I think if I had a single draft, my heart of hearts, I would take Tutu. I think I'm just going to be generally a market respecter with how those guys are ordered. I think I understand why they are priced like this, because my thought would be, if Tutu hits, I do think he hits in a bigger way than what a Skattebo hit looks like, where you're in a much more efficient offense, an offense that is clearly making a commitment to explosive plays. Just the profile of Tutu, I think how he hits is very exciting. So I'm with you there. I do think the paths for Skattebo hitting are probably more likely. I think just passing Tyrone Tracy, who wasn't too efficient last year, is a much easier roadblock than an incumbent like Travis Etienne, a bruiser back like Tank Bigsby. I think there's more ways that Tutu could be stifled touches-wise, where I think Skattebo's path to getting high-value touches pretty early is definitely cleaner. So I understand why it's ordered that way. And I do think another way I would think about it is, depending on if I had started with like a hyper fragile running back room, say I had 3 running backs early, or, you know, pretty significant running back capital invested, give me Tutu as my running back 4, running back 5. I think maybe when you're a little bit leaner, in the same way I was having like the Khalil Shakir versus Luther Burden conversation on a more wide receiver loaded team, I think I feel a little bit better about the production I'm going to get right away from Skattebo. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. My guess is that's how the market is thinking about it as well. So yeah. One thing I want to check on here with this quarterback stuff is the drafter with TJ Hawkinson is behind me in the 12 hole. I think I need to lock up McCarthy now because Stroud is now gone and I have no other stacks. These wide receivers are fine, but nothing that is going to compel me to just pass on locking up this JJ McCarthy, Aaron Jones, and Jordan Addison stack there. So let's lock that up, and then we can mostly be done at quarterback unless something super obvious pops up. This is a fun question from Blizzy here. construction-wise, do you think it's possible for a team to both be set up to hit both a top regular season prize and take down BBM, or do those not align very well? I actually think it is. I do think they align well. You look at the BBM 3 regular season winner was a true 0 RB squad that I think made it and almost advanced to the finals. We had Mathology's team last year. That was an absolute juggernaut team that I believe didn't it make it to week 16, Mathology? I think it got out of the first one. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like if you draft the regular season nuts, it is going to be the best team in your pod. It just speaks to how much variance there is within the pod dynamics. But I do think a team that crushes the regular season is going to be positioned pretty well in week 15 and 16. All right, let's see here. Fucking Jack Besh staring at me. Let's grab another running back in this range. We could do Christian Kirk and like set up another stack there, but I think I want to grab another running back in this range. Let's get Jaden Blue as our 4th running back and kind of stay balanced here positionally, and then we can swing back to wide receiver in the next rounds. I'm catching up on these takes. Tootin is a chronic fumbler and Skattebo is a generational talent. This is also within the range. The D. Owen says, watch the Giants donkey this year and give Singletary the job. I have thought a little bit about Singletary of like, is he really going to go quietly into the night? I mean, I do think it'll be a thing where if Skattebo earns the coach's trust, right? Because the thing that Singletary has done well over the years is he doesn't make mistakes. He's really good in pass blocking. Coaches love him. He works hard. What's his nickname? Motor. They call him Motor. So if you're getting growing pains from Skattebo, if he's making mistakes like that, could the coaching staff be like, screw this, we'll just, put in Singletary until Skattebo is ready? That's possible. But I think if Skattebo does what they hope he can do, where they drafted him, which is be on the field, pass protect, short yardage, yada, yada, I do think he'll maintain that role. What is up, Clay? When is Cardio Club? Very soon, I'm told. In fact, I thought maybe today, actually, let me go to my Twitter because I'm pretty sure Berm posted something here the other day. I retweeted it. Let's see. Yeah, my guy Sam Berman over at Underdog said Monday and then hashtag Cardio Club. This was posted over the weekend. So maybe today. But yes, Underdog Cardio Club will be back. Very excited for that. I've been doing my own cardio club, out for runs, out for walks, all that good stuff. But the official BBM Cardio Club should be back soon. This is a good question. Have you found any times in which you're forcing yourself to take the crappy starting QBs, i.e. Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers? They are eliminator-ass picks to me, but I feel like they never get drafted. I haven't in BBM, Wilson and Rodgers. Part of the reason is like the selling point to me of some of the later quarterbacks, say your Darnolds and your Genos, is the job security. Like we're fairly confident those guys are going to be playing most of the season. One, Aaron Rodgers doesn't even have a team. We all assume he's going to play, but I think there's legit job security in that there's not a job currently to even secure. Russell Wilson, I don't think has full job security. I think the team would like to get a look at Jackson Dart if things don't go well. And so the quarterbacks I have taken have been more of the upside swings. Like I'll sprinkle in a Dart. I'll take a Daniel Jones if I have some Colts pieces and need some upside. But the combination of a low fantasy ceiling, which I think both Russ Wilson and Aaron Rodgers have. Like I think they're high flourish guys, but really low ceiling options. So it's like if I'm taking on job security risk and I don't even get a high ceiling when they do play all 17 weeks, that's just not as interesting to me. All right, let's see here. D Singleton, please don't auto timeout your third tight end right here. Please. D Singleton is going to make me sweat this. Please make the pick. Please do not take your third tight end unstacked at the top of the queue. Please make a pick. Okay, Cedric Tillman. God bless. I really wanted a chance to get Isaiah Likely. This is the perfect team. We need a second tight end. Likely falls 9 picks past ADP. We have a Lamar Jackson team. They don't have the same bye weeks. Him and Evan Engram. Bada bing, bada boom. I haven't been selecting much Tracy. I think I took my first Tracy share the other day when he slipped a good bit. I'm going to still wait. I think you're going to get some pretty good deals on guys like Travis Etienne and Tracy. But I don't think those prices have corrected enough for where I feel comfortable with it. Tracy's ADP is 103 right now. I would like to see him more in the Etienne range before I start picking him. Etienne's ADP is 123.8. That's kind of where I'm at on Tracy. Sean Tucker, the third string running back for the Tampa Bay Bucs, is in the chat and says Likely is going to be fire this year, Pete. You love to hear it. I love to hear it. All right, it's time to grab another wide receiver here. Leggett, Dobbs. Let's see here. Who should we get? Carolina, Seattle, Green Bay, Minnesota. Yeah, let's get Dobbs. Let's get a little bring back here on our Week 17 stack. We'll go. We now have Lamar, Derrick Henry, and Likely. And we'll bring it back with Romeo Dobbs here at ADP. Needed a wide receiver, needed a bring back. Get that correlation there at no additional cost. Good to go. Dubs versus Ravens, Week 17. People forget. How is this possible? Trail Error says I have 100% ETN. Now I have to ask the follow-up question on how many drafts? I don't care the amount of money. I just want to know what kind of volume are we talking about? If you've done more than 10 drafts, I will be impressed by your 100% ETN. Imwald, is Cooper Kupp even good enough to be an eliminator ass pick anymore? Asking for my own draft purposes. I know. It's like, Jacoby Myers, to me, he's an eliminator ass pick. You know what you're going to get from Jacoby Myers, even if the Jack Besh lovers don't want to admit it. But Cooper Kupp, I mean, there were some rough stretches last year where he completely disappeared, where the whole point of an eliminator ass pick is the floor, is the assumption of projectable targets and catches. And I'm with you, Imwald. I don't know if that's there. I mean, on paper, it's there. They're going to be running a ton of 2 wide receiver sets, and it's just him and JSN. But yeah, it was concerning last year to see how uninvolved he was in the offense at times. Trail Error has done 35 BBMs and have selected Travis Etienne in every single draft. Holy shit. That is conviction. This guy, I know what this guy thinks of Bashal Tutin, and it's not much. Wow. Yeah, Matt thinks it's a bit. Can you tag me on Twitter or Discord with the screenshot of this? I think I need to see this on the blockchain. I can't trust. I need to verify. I thought you were going to say you'd done like 7 drafts, which is completely fine. And you're like, I'm getting my guy, but 35 BBMs and 100% Travis Etienne. That's some shit right there. Are we getting farmed? Trail Air says, I take Etienne, Rashad White, and Ramondre every draft behind 2 elite running backs. Trail Air is pretending like the 2025 NFL draft did not happen. Send me the screenshot, Trail Air. The people don't believe you. I'm inclined to believe you. I'm maybe too trusting, but I do think we need to see the proof. We need to see the proof. To me, Imwald says here, what is the goal with 100% of an RB in a 3 running back backfield? Like, truthfully, even aside of the, risk tolerance element of going super overweight on a player, if I did have 100% of a player through 20 drafts or 35 drafts, I would want it to be a player I think was going to get more expensive. Because at least then you can say I'm packing my bags before his price gets out of hand. All right. Speaking of what we were kind of talking with Corey about here, let's grab Roschon Johnson. We have Luther Burden. Roschon has been one of the running back 2s I've been targeting, trying to get a little bit more of here. We have now this kind of secondary week 17 correlation with Roschon, Luther Burden, and Jawan Jennings here. And now we're up to a 2.562. But yeah, if someone told me right now that they had near 100% Jaden Blue, I wouldn't find that as crazy. I still would find it a little crazy, but for my own personal sensibilities. But if your thesis is, hey, no one's going to buy Javonte Williams, we're going to continue to get steam on the rookie, he's going to be a top 100 pick by August, I would buy that argument. And I would buy saying, I just want to have my chunk of Jaden Blue exposure at 130 instead of at pick 98. I would buy that. It's harder for me to do that on the incumbents who got drafted, significant competition and with a new coaching staff, because I think Travis Etienne's probably going to stay or get cheaper. I don't think he's going to get much more expensive. All right, let's do again another little correlation here. We'll do Pat Bryant right here at the top. Now we have Pat Bryant and Evan Engram, and then Xavier Worthy. So now a third little mini stack without the quarterback. And the one stack that we're probably not going to be able to line up is a Minnesota Week 17 bring back with Detroit. I guess we could maybe take like a Tesla. That could potentially be possible. But I think positionally in this draft, now we're in really good shape. We're at a 2.572, and I don't feel like there's a position I absolutely have to address. Lamar and JJ McCarthy at quarterback, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Cam Skattebo, Jaden Blue, Roschon Johnson at running back, wide receiver Nico Collins, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, Jawan Jennings, Luther Burden, Romeo Doubs, Pat Bryant, and tight end Evan Engram and Isaiah Likely. So yeah, this worked out. We took the quarterback early, the running back early, but I think being patient, getting those 5 wide receivers that we still got through 82, being patient at some of the other positions, I feel like most of these picks have landed in relatively good value pockets. This team probably needs another tight end. Yeah, I think I agree with you. One thing that's really interesting, and I was talking about this with Michael Dubner on After Dark on Saturday night, which again, by the way, if you guys are YouTube members on the channel, Value Hounds, you get access to those weekly After Dark shows. And sometimes they're more, content or business or whatever focused. But Dubner and I basically just talked best ball strategy for an hour. And one of the dynamics I think I was talking about with him too is you find yourself in a lot of these spots at quarterback and tight end where there's good values in that 100 to 130 range. And I think you can make really good arguments for them to be 2 quarterback or 3 quarterback builds or 2 tight end or 3 tight end builds, where say you get like the Brock Purdy, CJ Stroud. Could that be a 2 quarterback build where you shut it down? Or could you tack on a sliding 3rd quarterback that's correlated? Absolutely. And same with the tight ends, like Likely and Evan Engram, I think I could rock that as a 2 tight end build if I wanted, but I think it could also be a tweener that tilts to a 3rd tight end. So yeah, I'm with you on that, but I think it's nice to have that flexibility for the most part. I think what I'd like to do I think I'm pretty good at running back. I think I'm done at quarterback. I think what I'd like to do is one more wide receiver, one more tight end. Let's go ahead and get that week 17 bring back. Let's play the Tesla angle there, and we can just get full correlation, bro, on our first Best Ball Breakfast draft post NFL schedule. We get Tesla as the bring back to our Minnesota stuff, and then we can grab a third tight end here. A couple decent options for us in this range. Alex says 3 quarterbacks seems optimal for playoff spikes. I completely agree, but I will say is if I spend, to me, the whole point of an elite quarterback is that it also frees up a roster spot that you don't have to use on a third quarterback. So in general, if I'm doing the elite quarterback, I want to take advantage of that. But I completely agree with you. In the example I was using before, where you get Brock Purdy at pick 105 and CJ Stroud at 130 or whatever, you haven't spent enough capital that would preclude you from drafting a third quarterback. And then you can get the benefits that you're talking about, where you get that third stack, help you get through the gauntlet with another unique stack. But this would be one of those instances where I have Lamar and I don't feel like I need to force it. And there's not any really position or any quarterback that I would even do it with here. I guess I could do like Jackson Dart paired with Skattebo, but let's play the other angle with the tight end. Let's do like Theo Johnson, and we'll get another teammate correlation in here and get a third tight end with a little bit of juice there in Theo Johnson as our third tight end. All right, let's see here. Let's recap this team. I felt like I put myself behind the 8 ball by selecting Derrick Henry. It's like when a stand-up comic tries to alienate the audience and then win them back over. I feel like that's what I had to do after passing on Jeanty, telling you that I was scared about Jeanty, and then selecting Derrick Henry. You want to talk about a 1-2 punch to alienate your audience? I think I did it. But tell me if I recovered here, because I kind of like how this team shook out. Lamar Jackson and JJ McCarthy at quarterback, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Cam Skattebo, Jaden Blue, and Roschon Johnson at running back. Wide receiver, Nico Collins, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, Jawan Jennings, Luther Burden, Romeo Doubs, Pat Bryant, and Isaac Tesla. Whenever I say his name, I don't think of Tesla anymore. I think of like I'm saying coleslaw, and I just say Tess before coleslaw. In tight ends, Evan Engram, Isaiah Likely, and Theo Johnson. So this team is correlated to the gills. We have Lamar, Derrick Henry, and Likely with a Romeo Doubs week 17 bring back. We have JJ McCarthy, Aaron Jones, and Jordan Addison with a Romeo Doubs bring back. We have Cam Skattebo and Theo Johnson there together on the Giants as a team correlation. We have Roschon Johnson and Luther Burden opposite of Jawan Jennings, week 17 correlation there. And then we have Xavier Worthy opposite Pat Bryant and Evan Engram in week 17. So basically this entire team is correlated in some fashion or another outside of basically just 2 picks, right? Nico isn't correlated with anything. And I think Nico's the one pick that doesn't have some kind of correlation, which is kind of my preferred way to play it. Nico is a boss, an alpha that can get there on his own. We didn't have to force any, additional correlation with our first round pick, and then was able to build in correlation at cost that we didn't have to reach for throughout the rest of the roster. All right. Let's see here. Let's name this team. We'll have Pat Kerrane joining us in a few minutes. This was my 19th Best Ball Mania draft here. Number 19. Today's date is 5/19. 20. I can't believe by the end of today, I will be, what will I be at? Like 24? We'll be over 15% of the way done with our Best Ball Mania drafts by the end of today. Wild. All right. 2, 5, 8, 3. A little Baltimore and Minnesota love there. You'll notice here, I referenced the draft I did with Michael Dubner. This was my draft number 18. That was on Saturday night, if you guys want to get access to that. And then you'll see here, number 17, I recorded this on Friday, a Deposit Kingdom video draft with Easy. That should be posting later this afternoon. I know my editors were putting the final touches on that. We also get into a ton of conversation about the NFL schedule, about correlating, about how to think through, actual, quantitative ways to think through correlation, because we kind of do it in a bro science-y way when we're drafting. Hey, you have this player, let's boost them up. Easy has a way where he quantifies it, and it's a helpful exercise for knowing how much you should be valuing these correlation boosts. So keep an eye out for that video on the Deposit Kingdom channel later today. And yeah, I think you guys will enjoy that video. Did you number them like this last year? I did. I did. The thing that I think is going to happen here is I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up streaming all 150 of my drafts. I'm not announcing it in case I get backed into a corner or whatever and am not able to do it. But this pace I'm on in doing, we're going to do 4 on Best Ball Breakfast a week, generally going to do 1 on After Dark. We draft some on Swolecast. I draft some for the Deposit Kingdom. I think they're all going to end up being on stream of some sort. I'm being alerted that Herzig has a fantasy best ball contest going that I should look at the salaries here. Best ball is officially live. What am I looking at here? fantasybestball.com. So we have salaries for these players. Let's see here. Wow. So if you win BBM, you immediately open up as a 10,000 salary player. Look at this legend who won BBM last year. This dude doesn't even have a Twitter account, or this individual, forgive me. Leone comes in at 9,000. Oh, where am I? Do I need to get okay, I'm priced in the 8,500 range. Okay, I'm here with Sacrilegious, Spags, Dinkpiece, Nez, Bime4. How does Donkey from Shrek get 8,600? I get, man, some of these salaries are going to get people up in arms. I know Sacrilegious is pissed that Shady Advice costs 100 more than him. Raleigh Durham being at 8,800. This is bulletin board material. All right, I'm fired up. I'm about to have the best ball year of my life. Enough fucking around. You price Raleigh Durham 300 more than me? Oh, okay. Yeah. My God. Ugh. FB Wizard at 9,000. What did he advanced 1 million teams last year? Man, the amount of shit talking that this is going to encourage here. Davis Maddock priced at 8,000. The best part is he clearly just did like a string of influencers here. 8,500, Spags, Dink, Nez, me, Bime4, John. And then Davis is down here. Wow, Jacob Sanderson getting disrespected. Patrick Barnes' YouTube, right at the same as Davis, is funny for those who remember that bit. Man. Did anyone get priced under 5K? Man. There you go. All right. Well, this looks fun. What does it look like when you submit your entry? Underdog username, email, your first player, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth player, second alternate. What's the salary cap? 50K. All right. $50,000 salary cap there. So what's your, I can't do math on the fly right now. 50,000 divided by 6. So you're looking at 8,300 spend per player. So you can live in this 8,400, 8K range if you want. Unfortunately, the best part of this is I think these BBM winners, I think they price themselves out. There's too much randomness. There's too much randomness for these guys to be decent buys. They're unplayable at these price tags. Gotta fade the BBM champs. Yeah, Chad, you're down bad. 5,400. Buy the dip. Build a team. Well, I need to go through this here and find people. I think Dave is a really strong drafter. He's a nice value there at 7,800. Let's see, what other users do I recognize here? Most of the names I know are from the daily streets. Jonathan, RKFD, is a strong drafter, 7,100. Do Me Favors is a grinder. Think you'd be getting it in good with him. Getting an influencer discount on Fantasy Dog Pound down here. B-Zigs is in the Discord. Is this our Gumby or is this a different Gumby? If it's our Gumby, fade him. If it's a different Gumby, might be a good price. What else do we got down here? Candyman. ASAP Tuna, I see that individual in a lot of drafts. Ooh, Justin McMahon, 6,200. Man, down bad. Justin's down bad at 6,200. Draft is a good drafter at 6,000. Where's Liam? Liam's at the top, 10K. This exercise is basically just a way for the former BBM winners to jerk each other off with their 10K salary. Soccer Dave at 6K. Soccer Dave at 6K there. This man said that that best ball was beatable. So you might want to buy the dip on Soccer Dave down there. Underzet, if you got paid in tweets, if there was a scoring system for number of tweets, this might be a good buy here. Hit him with the Gritty at 5,700. I'm putting Gritty on my team. Hit him with the Gritty is my anchor for the fantasy best ball player pool. How's it scored? I should probably look at that before I start giving off my takes, huh? It's just funner to scroll through usernames and talk shit. All right, let's see what the player or the scoring is. Here we go. 10 points for every advancing team. 20 additional points for every team that advances to week 16. For the audio listeners who are confused, Justin Herzig is running a fantasy contest for best ball players. So you can build a team of people who will be maxing BBM, and then you can get points if you identify the best players. Week 16, 20 additional points for every team that advances. So we are putting a premium on that. And you're getting way more additional points if you make it to week 17. I'll tell you right now, scanning this, you do not want to be drafting the advance rate bros. You want to draft someone who can get a team to week 17. Let me get Kerrane up here. Have you seen this Herzig's fantasy best ball contest?
No, I saw him tease it, but I didn't see that he's released it.
Yeah, he just put it up. You're unplayable at a 10K salary though. Sorry.
Oh, this is that. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay. I forgot it was with like the drafters. I thought it was like a new actual contest. Okay.
What do you win if you win? You win the most embarrassing contest to win of all time, a fantasy best ball contest.
So who's in it? How does this work?
I don't know how he created the player pool, but you can see here all the BBM champs open up with a 10K salary.
10K. Okay.
So if you use one of you guys, you immediately are using a fifth of your overall salary.
Congrats to Leone, 9K salary. That's pretty good.
I know.
He's like it's the second highest non-champ salary.
So I'm looking at the scoring though, and it is very week 17 is all that matters because it's 10 points if you advance a team, 20 if you advance to week 16, and then even just getting a team to week 17 is an additional 30 points, and you're getting 500 points if you get first. So whoever picks the winner, if they pick the winner, is going to win this by a landslide.
Well, you could argue this is all just a way to remind people who won in the past. So that doesn't surprise me that the winners are really highlighted here.
Yeah, exactly. I was also laughing because there's a clump of influencers all priced around 8,400 to 8,500 here. Sacrilegious, Spags, Dink, Nez, me, Bime4, John. And then you have to scroll down here to 8K Davis Maddock.
Oh, come on. That's a dick move. That's an actual dick move. But also, it's pretty funny. Sanderson's at 8K. Okay. Ron's at 8K. There's a lot. He's got some influencer company down there. I don't know how he split up the influencers, but
and there is a decent amount of someone was asking about Leone maxing. Now that it's back in New York, he should be fine.
Yeah.
But I think you need to start doing some geolocation and make sure that if you're backing one of these horses, that they're getting 150 bullets in here, because you're already playing at a disadvantage if they don't have 150 in this.
So this is only for Best Ball Mania.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And you have to, this has got to be the noisiest contest in the history of Earth. Like it's you're selecting someone else's portfolio and then they have to like make the final and win.
Yeah.
Nothing else really matters.
I hope what this results in is, how you get like a lot of athletes these days say like, these bros on Twitter are harassing me when their parlay doesn't hit or whatever. Like, I want best ball players being harassed by other best ball players of like, dude, you couldn't get one extra team into the finals. I would have shipped the Hertzik fantasy best ball contest if you could have just gotten that team in, bro.
Imagine sweating a week 17 team and someone else is like kind of sweating it harder for the fantasy best ball championship.
Yeah. Let's see here. New players may be added to the pool, but no salaries will be changed once they're posted. This contest is going to be open until July 31st, 2025. So there's now, Pat, I think just an added level of stakes to every draft you do, every piece of content. Like essentially we're auditioning right now. If I have a bad take, someone might pull me out of their player pool. You got to be careful.
I'm 10K, so I feel the luxury of that is that like I feel like I probably just won't get played much. So I'm just gonna continue unchanged. This won't affect my summer, I don't think.
Now this is an interesting piece of game theory here. Each team can have two alternates that automatically replaces your starters in the case that a drafter does not complete 100 BBMs. So I wonder here, there's a late swap angle. I'm trying to think, is there a really strong player in a state that doesn't allow them to max where I could kind of take advantage of that dynamic with a late swap? We get Gretsch in here.
Yeah.
Think he's going to get to 100?
It's not guaranteed, but I bet he does.
Yeah. I wonder now too, are you going to have people that have to publicly declare how many entries they plan on putting into BBM?
I think people will end up having to tweet, I'm not going to hit 100. Don't play me in this contest.
Well, I'm also envisioning like where your drafters are like requiring to see, you have to post every one of your lineups before July 31st as part of that audition. Oh, nice. Can I see the teams you're drafting? Because...
But the funny thing is about the teams is like they better be very week 17 focused, right? Because it's that's the prize structure.
Yeah,
advance rate doesn't really matter.
That's what I was saying. Like you have one of I think this guy up here, FB Wizard, I believe, is who advanced the most teams last year. You're paying 9,000, and I think he advanced like 60 or 70 teams. But if you think about that for scoring, that's still what. I guess if you're advancing 60 or 70, that's a lot. You'd be getting 600 for some points. So maybe I'm sure Herzig spent some time thinking this through. So
maybe it's more regular season focused than we're thinking.
Yeah.
You could just draft a bunch of advance rate crushers, like just guys who are like, you're actually scouting people who like are overly focused on advance rate. Like who's willing to sacrifice their late season EV. And I'm just going to rack up. And then you really need 150 maxers too, because you can't give up any advance. You got to have 150 maxers, just like 2xing on advance rate. That'd be an interesting way.
The other thing, Pat, is knowing how people are going. Like, do you diversify the types of players you're drafting? You wouldn't want all advance rate bros. You'd want some of them in there to raise your point, but then you'd also want And you could also think through diversification of like, this guy really likes this stand. This guy really likes this stand. 0 RB bro versus a robust RB bro. Do you want both of those as part of your portfolio?
Well, just the odds of things happening. So you get 20 additional points for every team that advances to week 16, but that's like, it's super hard to get to week 16. So I wonder if this is actually built on advance rate. Oh no, okay. So it's like 250 additional. So yeah. If you happen to bank someone who finishes high, you'll win. But the odds of that are much lower than just like. And then what is this? What are your payouts in this? Like how top heavy is this contest?
I don't know if there's. I think this might just be for the love of the Virgin
for
game.
The love of the game. All right. Yeah. Okay. There's nothing.
Yeah. Can you get sidekick for
the sidekick for this would be nuts. Like the sidekick. To even think about how we would make that is difficult.
Look at the fake names for the example: Weekly Rojo, Backgammon Liam, Automatic, Pickleball Pete, Roto Walk, and Gritty. Those are good.
Those are good.
All right, here's Automatic. The prizes. Win prizes.
Davis, have
maybe.
You considered Automatic? You could just do that.
I'll toss the first prize into the pool, and I will say, if you win this contest, you get to be a guest on Best Ball Breakfast next year at some point. So there's one prize.
What's your ideal guest? Like, do you hope this person is never drafted and this was them getting their feet wet? Like, what's an ideal person?
Someone who's never drafted a best ball team and their first contest is just playing in this.
Yeah,
that'd be incredible. I would like that. I would love to be part of their first ever best ball draft.
That'd be so good.
Let's see here. All right, Pat and I are going to hop in a draft. I'm sure we will have plenty of time to discuss this contest. That will definitely not hurt anyone's feelings, I'm sure. As the
where was Soccer Dave listed?
He was real cheap, like 6,000.
David said he's the best pick on the board, so I figured he must be cheaper than him.
I don't know. I think Kitchen might be more in the DK streets this year.
Okay.
Yeah, JJ's becoming he's becoming a best ball bro on DK this year.
Got it.
And Kitchen as part of big late round.
Right.
But if Kitchen gets a swell of backers over on Underdog, I don't know how he couldn't let them down.
I think Kitchen would be the most delighted to be chalk in this contest. Like if anyone like really just, I feel like he would be proud and really go to bat for his backers.
Well, that's the other thing about this is chalk is probably going to be extremely bad in this contest. Extremely. Like anyone who's used like more than once is automatically a bad pick.
I do love the idea of like I had to eat the Kitchen chalk. He's just underpriced, man. He's really improved.
I love the idea of like 50 people jamming in Kitchen only for him to advance like 4 out of 50 teams. Like that is the most likely outcome.
I've kind of swung around on this contest. I was a little skeptical, but I've already gotten more laughs out of it than I thought.
All right. I do like this though. The tables are now turned because when we're drafting, normally all the pressure's just on us, but now I see these usernames. My guy CLN 2013. Do I want to consider you for the contest? I'm going to be watching how you draft right now. You better stay in your own fucking lane. That's all I'll say.
Oh man. He's got to set up email notifications for when someone signs up with you, when the line submitted with you in there, so you can see. And then you can see they've taken you out.
Yeah, what would be? I would say finding out that someone selected you on their fantasy best ball team. Would that be the equivalent of having a tweet that got like 2,000 retweets as far as the like dopamine hit?
I don't think so. I'd rather take the tweet.
No, man. The biggest ego boost. Someone thinks I'm gonna do well in BBM. Yeah, it's an audition draft. All right, Pat and I are here auditioning to be added to your fantasy best ball teams. We have pick 111 here, Pat. The chat's been trolling me because earlier on the first show, I admitted that I just have the slightest bit of hesitation about Ashton Jeanty and I got trolled mercilessly for it. So I'm trying to recover from that. Jeanty does go in this room though. So
I saw something about Henry over Jeanty. Did that happen?
I didn't take Henry over Jeanty, but I did take Henry in the second round. Nabers, Nico, BTJ. Who do you want?
Nabers and Nico, both great.
All right, let's grab Nabers. We'll see what comes back to us here. Yeah, Nabers falling to pick 11 is pretty nice there. Brian Thomas does go, so we're looking at Bowers. Yeah, let me get the I need to add the leg up ranks in here. I just raw dogged it off of ADP for my first one.
I haven't gotten Bowers as much recently. He's risen up slightly. Although I was doing a draft last week and he fell to like the middle of the second. I was I think with mine for
the Bowers.
I was very jealous. Yeah, it was a Bijan Bowers team. He got all the way back to the Bijan draft.
Yeah. I've noticed him just in a couple of the schnauzers I was doing, been falling more to the mid round.
Did you notice we got Dyson darts?
We did. Which I was completely wrong because when we were talking about it on Ship Chasing, I was like, I don't know how common it's going to be, and now I feel like I see it all the time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. It might even because McCaffrey's moving up a bit. We moved him up in our rankings last week. The early second price is just like wrong, and so it's sort of like, do you? If things are trending towards the positive direction, I want to be like a little quick to kind of move in that direction.
Yeah.
And they are. It seems positive, so not surprised to see him go in kind of the 10 range. So that would help push Nabers down a bit if he regularly flips him.
Yeah. The one thing I've been talking about, and I was talking about it with Dubner on Saturday, and this is the cognitive dissonance I'm wrestling with. Whenever I select Brock Bowers or Trey McBride, I love it. I'm just so happy I select them with glee. However, I tend to like my teams better when I just have running backs and wide receivers through the first 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah, that makes sense to me because I think what is you're likely to be a little thinner at wide receiver if you take Bowers because this is like a premium wide receiver selection pick. I do think that there's a tier break, maybe even like slightly before Brian Thomas and then another tier break after Brian Thomas and at wide receiver. And so that makes Bowers, I think, a very strong pick if you can get him after Thomas. But you are going to be a little weaker at receiver. You might be weaker at running back if you kind of make up for it at receiver. To me, it's like Bowers is a play on being a dominant tight end throughout the season, who I think can help your advance rates, but you could end up in some weird structural teams where you don't advance even with a strong Bowers season. But I mean, as a playoff hammer, like if you figure it out at the other positions, I think Bowers is how you supercharge a team.
And I think the thing that's kind of crystallizing for me, and again, we always get overconfident in these pockets of the draft and, positional runs, whatever, but like it makes it harder. It's really hard to do elite quarterback now at this 3-4 turn once you have Bowers. Like those are the Bowers. Teams. Yeah. So I kind of like where I just built a Lamar team on the last one where I didn't have elite quarterback and I did, cheap tight end. And I loved how the team turned out. Like you can get that elite quarterback or elite tight end.
I'm trying to do that more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the one thing that's hard because like sometimes you'll get the falling value, like Lamar fall, like all of them are falling here, and it's really hard for us to take them. Tet, Evans, Worthy. Who do you like?
We should grab Tet or Evans.
Yeah. You want to do Tet and see if we can get both, or Evans and see if we can get both?
Sure.
Or?
Yeah, I think Evans makes sense for this team.
Yeah, by ADP, you're looking at the quarterbacks and Xavier Worthy, so might as well give yourself a shot. And I still like Worthy as well.
I'd be down for Worthy. I like Tet better, but I'd be down for Worthy.
Yeah.
As well.
And he goes Allen Worthy, so we can get Tet. So I think we played that right.
Yeah, I like that.
So we start Nabers, Evans, Tet, Bowers, giving the people what they want. Since last draft, I gave them a start with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. So they're satiated.
I do think Nick's asking Evans over Tet. I think as a wide receiver too, I tend to lean towards the Evans play, even over a Worthy. Like if you're swinging for the fences, in some ways it makes sense to swing for the fences, like and hope a dude is just filling your lineup every week. But like that's kind of what you expect from Evans. Like Evans is so. I don't know it's more about the late season. Like the reason I would break a tie to Tet over Evans would be I'm already starting to think about the end of the season.
Yeah.
And as a wide receiver too, I'm thinking more about the whole thing.
Yeah. And to be fair there, I just like being able to, I thought there was a chance we could get both Evans and Tet. I think there was basically no chance we got both Tet and Evans. When you get the value with Evans falling, lock that up. I guess he didn't fall. It was right at ADP. But looking at the ranks in the ADP, I think you can kind of manipulate stuff in your favor there. And it could have gone like this drafter could have not wanted Josh Allen and easily double tapped Tet and Worthy. So it's not always a for sure thing. But I kind of always like prioritizing it by ADP, just giving yourself that out.
Agreed.
How many teams have you drafted over the weekend now with the schedule out?
I haven't done a ton. I think I'm only up to like 11 BBM teams. So I'm going to be doing some this week, a little heavier. And then I'm going to be in New York in a couple weeks. So the New York news was very welcome for me and everybody. But that'll be nice because I was thinking I was going to enter a bunch of slows before I left. Yeah. Now just kind of I was going to try to like power through some fasts and just like get ahead. But now I'll just be able to kind of drip them in throughout the summer like I prefer.
Yeah, you'll just be able to ignore your family in New York like you have
the
been
whole
hoping
year
to do all along.
Instead of just part of the
year. We start Nabers, Bowers, Evans, Tet. Like I mentioned before, on Ship Chasing on Thursday, we brainstormed mnemonic devices for the week 17. And then I know you published your final version of those. I saw your update on Drake's on a Plane. I really liked that.
That's not mine. That was leg up submission and just an excellent one. The ones that involve a player's actual name are the most helpful. If it's funny and involves the player. Yeah, Drake's on a Plane. I mean, that's hard to forget. It's just very good.
Do you want to get Kenneth Walker opposite Tet week 17? Chuba would be the teammate play or a wide receiver?
Rather, if we're doing it for correlation, I'd rather go Chuba.
Yeah. Let's grab Chuba here and then probably want to I guess we could still do a running back here, but probably want to grab both. A wide receiver. Yeah.
I think I'd be down to do both if Walker's there. Otherwise, he's gone.
Yeah, Walker goes. So you could try the double stack stuff with Godwin, Jawan Jennings. We maybe the bye week bros start coming after us a little bit.
I'd probably do Godwin.
Yeah, I'm down with Godwin. We'll just stay like tightly concentrated. We got 2 Panthers, 2 Bucks, and then Nabers and Brock. Talk through that thing because I agree with you. I prefer teammate correlations over like the week 17, but I know that's a spot people will find themselves in a lot. Do I get like the mini correlation or do I just grab the extra teammate? How do you think through that like Chuba Ken Walker decision?
I think that with so Ken Walker and Tet McMillan, you're playing for like a very specific outcome in week 17 where, the Seahawks are up and the Panthers are throwing, or, maybe Walker has like a big game and that helps boost passing volume on the other side. And that can happen for sure. But if you take Chuba, you're betting on this like much like, it's like less precise. It's just like Panthers are good. Panthers are better than we expect. Panthers are one of the teams that you want a bunch of pieces on. And it's a thing that can help you all season. It's a thing that can help you in week 15 and 16. And then it's a thing that can also help you in week 17 where it's like, well, I got the Panthers. Panthers are, they have a horrible defense. They're aggressive. They're willing to put up points, and they move the ball effectively. So that's something I'm excited about right there, to have two pieces of that team. So I just think the benefits are a lot greater with, in this case, it's two running backs. I probably slightly prefer Chuba to Walker. So it's almost like I'm breaking a tie against the guy I like better for correlation that has, I think, a little bit less of an effect.
And I think the only thing, where you really start to get in the weeds is let's assume Tet, Chuba, and Kenneth Walker's ADPs are stable throughout all of Best Ball Mania, and that they're kind of anchored to this side of the board. And let's assume every time you take Tet, you're often faced with this decision over and over. Then you start to think about, like, what is the frequency I would want? Because I wouldn't want every Tet team with Chuba. I'd want some Tet teams without him. I'd want some Tet teams with Kenneth Walker.
For sure.
And it's then starting to think through. And that is maybe one of the traps too of correlation, is like, you don't always want to be making those same correlated clicks over and over, because it makes your portfolio pretty vulnerable to a very specific outcome.
Yeah. The other thing I would say is that, so in that case, we're deciding between these veteran running backs who have some real warts. I would definitely not just want to go, well, let me take Chuba or Walker and not have RJ Harvey or Travion Henderson on these types of builds, or even a Judkins, and say I'm going to go receiver and see if I get Judkins on the. So that's the other part. Yeah, I don't think you want all your Tet starts with one of these two guys.
Yeah, and I think you can start to maybe break ties now. Like, of the two, Chuba and Kenneth Walker, do you envision one of them rising more, where you tilt your exposures one way or another? I don't really see either of them rising. Maybe Kenneth Walker rises.
Kenneth Walker could rise.
Just, he's going to project really well when you look at projectable volume.
He is, and then you could have something with Charbonnet. Like, if Charbonnet, there was a trade rumor, that sort of started to heat up, I think even that would help him rise a little. Obviously, if he got traded, which I don't expect, but it's like maybe a tiny percent. And then if Charbonnet got banged up, like if Rico Dowdle got banged up, I don't think it really changes Chuba's ADP that much. But if Charbonnet got banged up, then I think Walker would move up some.
So ADP, Kaleb Johnson, Jaden Reed. Looks like Jaden Reed atop of the ranks. I don't think the guy behind us is going to take Baker. If we want to get
what about Kaleb?
Yeah. Kaleb Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be kind of, I don't draft a ton of them, but I don't mind him as our running back too.
Yeah. We get him ADP is 75.9. We get him at pick 83. I guess the question here is, do you lock up the double with Baker, or do you try to push it? I don't know what we're pushing it for, though.
I think we lock it up.
Yeah.
It's like a little weird. You take it ahead of like Mahomes and stuff, but
I think we lock it up. If Jaden Reed had come back to us,
we could push it for a Puka, but then you end up even deeper in the, oh God, we didn't get Baker.
I know. And I'm plenty willing, like you, to have some broken stacks, but a triple without Baker starts to hurt. Not only from that angle, but because your amount of pass catchers to dial up future stacks is really diminished.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we're asking him to come back. He goes in the late 8th, and we're saying, actually, what if he went in the late 9th? It's kind of a lot to ask for. So I like just locking him up.
And I think I would have maybe advocated for pushing if Reed came back, because in selecting Reed, you also get the Jordan Love out. And so you can kind of free roll maybe a little bit more the Baker slide.
Yep.
But even then, when you have the Igbuka drafter still behind you, the chance that drafter is going to pass on Baker as a value coming back is like really slim.
Exactly.
So here's the team. So far, we have a 1-2-4-1. We got the Baker double stack with Evans and Godwin. We have Chuba and Tet together. Kaleb Johnson is our RB2. Nabers, our other wide receiver. Brock, the other tight end. Let's talk a little bit about Kaleb Johnson. He's so interesting because he's kind of being drafted as if he's just going to be Najee. If Najee was still in Pittsburgh, I feel like Najee would be going there and Jaylen Warren would kind of be going where he is. Do you think that's a safe assumption that he's going to be Najee? Do you think there's upside for more? Like, how are you thinking about him?
I don't think it's a safe assumption that he's Najee, but that's both good and bad. So from the bad side, like Najee he's a really big back. He kind of got better at some of the big back stuff, where he got a little bit more reliable last year. He is occasionally able to hit some longer runs, but he's really not a good breakaway runner. He's competent in the passing game, even though Warren is kind of the guy they really trust on in pass pro and all that. But you could have Najee out there. So Najee's like this capable, kind of can do everything, doesn't do anything that well back. And Johnson's more actually of kind of a boom bust explosion back, even though he's a 2-down guy. So he's more in the mold, I would say, of like a Kenneth Walker. He's bigger, but like that's more the style of back we're talking about. And so I think he's like a little bit more of a home run swing type of play where you're actually hoping that he's a really good breakaway runner, despite not being that fast, but he's big. And once he's up to speed, he's hard to bring down. And so you're kind of hoping he can be like a one-cut breakaway guy. And maybe, if he can do that, then he can actually be pretty fun, especially down the stretch as, one of these rookies who's coming on. So it's kind of a different bet than Najee in a lot of ways, but I think the price is like roughly okay,
And I think that the outcomes are a little more fun than the Harris Warren, where the most likely thing was a role-based split backfield. Whereas now it's like Kaleb isn't ready and Warren's a smash, or Kaleb is a bell cow smash. Those are kind of fun. All right. Looking like a running back or wide receiver selection, Mason, Tracy, Sharbs.
I don't take much Tracy, but I think it'd be okay here. We could also take Mason. I think we skip naked Kyler.
Yeah, I do too. I think I kind of lean Mason, but okay. So I was kind of talking this through with the chat earlier, and maybe I'm off on this, but I think Tracy's price is going to drop to closer to like the ETN range. As stuff progresses, Cam Skattebo, like hype surrounding that, and just the way that the like Tutu and ETN ADPs have converged, and they're an easy comp just because they were both 4th round running back selections. But I still just find the Tracy price tag to be a little pricey for me as he falls back to
I generally agree, but we are getting him a little bit past ADP, and we have a Giants Raiders thing. So
yeah.
I wouldn't mind having him here. Yeah. Because we also have Kaleb. So we've got a rookie, and now we have 3 guys we didn't spend a ton on that should help us kind of throughout the early part of the season.
Yep. And then we'll have to find, thinking through our wide receivers and secondary stacks. I mean, obviously Bryce Young stands out as a target on this team. We also have Geno Smith. So we have some quarterback outs. It's just, we're going to have to catch up at wide receiver in the mid range.
Yep.
But yeah, on the Skattebo, yeah, the Warren and Kaleb thing, I think that's what's fun, is those kind of scenarios where the Kaleb thing being such an unknown relative to Najee gives paths to like really fun higher end outcomes for both of them that we've never, because Warren and Najee were always going to cap each other. Like it just was, outside of injury, they were going to do different things. Whereas now that's not necessarily the case.
That's a good point as far as the Warren upside. Because there's a chance that Caleb Johnson's just he's like a slow breakaway back, and that doesn't really translate. He's also a 2-down guy. So Warren could have a 1A role that's like really, pretty valuable because he's used a little in short yardage. The other thing with Johnson that maybe you have a little bit of an out for with Warren is that his success rate was not good. So if he's like a little bit Kenneth Walker-y in that he's looking for the big hole, he's like kind of DeAndre Swifty, even though he's not much of a pass catcher, but as a runner, I mean, then maybe like Warren's just the guy they trust in key situations.
Yeah.
So yeah, it creates upside for both.
I'm with you. I hadn't been drafting, haven't been getting a ton of Kaleb, but when you see a room like this where he falls, you get Aaron Jones and Pollard and Swift kind of flipping him. I think it's a nice selection. That's kind of how I've been handling him and Quinshon Judkins, is just if the room gives them to me at what, like 3 to 5 pick discount, I'm kind of happy to take it, but otherwise generally going a different direction.
Yeah. Yeah, we ended up higher on, kind of did a rankings refresh last week and ended up higher on Warren. Not from my input, actually. So I'm happy to hear other people making positive Jaylen Warren cases, because I still think he's good. But, you know, last year was such a disappointment. And you start to wonder, like, this guy was undrafted. You know, they take a guy in the 3rd round after getting rid of Najee. Like, are they ever going to really give him a shot? But a 3rd round rookie is hardly a guarantee to produce. So,
yes. Man, the chat still can't stop talking about this fantasy best ball concept. Make sure Sack drafts a lot of Warren. Pat, I couldn't afford you in my contests. So he's getting arbitrage leg up hive mind via Sack.
Please,
there.
you gotta go directly to Sack. I'm not going to be an intermediary for Sack's portfolio for the purposes of the fantasy basketball contest.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
CLN is in the chat hoping he passes the audition to be a free square for people on there. So yeah, you everybody's watching now.
Do you think people are going to like pitch themselves as like derivatives of, like, they're going to be like, I'm a Kerrane overzet derivative drafter, like I'll just draft you a portfolio that will sort of look like theirs?
I think that's harder to do for me. It's definitely easier to do for someone who has rankings, right? Because then you can say, like, I'm going to be drafting off a leg up ranks. You can get a derivative of the Kerrane share.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Man, so we are going to be in a little dicey territory for wide receiver here. It's just how patient we want to be, because there's nothing even in this ADP range.
I don't think we force it.
Yeah. So then it's like even our quarterback targets are later as well. So ideally we're looking at like a running back or tight end, I think, in this range.
I think the problem here is that everything's wiped out.
Yes.
Honestly, I would be pretty into Dallas Goedert if we wanted to just do something that helps the team. I think he's really underpriced.
Yeah. Yeah, we can grab Dallas Goedert here. Brock Bowers week 8 bye, Dallas Goedert week 9, and then this pick 134. I'm going to take tight end off. You know, there's the McCarthy with who did we take on Minnesota?
Mason,
which I don't necessarily love that. You could do man, this is a tough spot. We could reach for Jalen Noel to just get another wide receiver here.
I like reaching for Jalen Noel. I think the other move is McCarthy. And we just...
Yeah. I just think with both Geno and Young...
Yeah, I agree. Let's do Noel.
If we had one more Minnesota pass catcher, I think I'd be on board. But I think we had to get another wide receiver there.
Yep.
That wasn't a fun spot, though.
It wasn't. I'm kind of happy with how he played it, though. I like getting Goddard, and then I didn't want to force receiver there, but like we were forcing everything, so you might as well just grab the upside at the position you need.
So let me give you a 2v2, because I think the 2v2 that I would look back on would be Jaden Reed and Ramondre versus Caleb Johnson and Jalen Noel. That's kind of the 2v2.
Honestly, I think I'm Caleb Johnson and Jalen Noel.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean,
I think I'm the other way, but I can see it.
Noel's like, we know less about him, but he's a slot receiver for, a solid, not outrageously good offense. Mm-hmm. That's what you hope anyway. And then Ramondre, you get more of the early season stuff, but this team needs the late season upside at running back. Johnson's like a key piece. For sure. And I mean, that's more based on where we ended up. Right. Because we could have grabbed Tootin instead of Mason had we had. Yeah. All
right. Here's a question from Ben. Who is your favorite quarterback to stack in the quarterback window, excluding our GOAT, Drake May. No Drake May in here. But I think he's kind of defining the window as that, pick 100 to 130, 140 range.
I have a lot of Kyler. I think he's pretty cheap given the rushing upside. I have a lot of Purdy, who has shown a ceiling, and his weapons are cheaper than usual. I also think Kittle's a really strong pick. For as much as we talk about Bowers and McBride, I think Kittle's a really good pick too. Dak's a really good pick. He's moving up now, but I've drafted him plenty. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's not a lot of bad answers in the quarterback window this year.
The Dak stuff is so clean. Because now with Pickens, you have kind of two cracks at nice stacks with him in the top, 4 rounds. And then the other thing is you have Ferguson going about a round or two after you select Dak. I'm actually surprised Clay here had Dak and passed on Ferguson at pick 141 at his tight end 2 to stack him. But then that stacks there. And then if you have a favorite of even like Tolbert or Turpin, the running backs, obviously in this range, like they're just a really convenient team to stack right now.
I agree. Yeah, they're fun. You can do it a couple different ways. You can do the whole thing. You can get CD, Pickens, and Ferguson easily enough. Blue has gotten outrageously expensive, so that's a little harder. But I did it with Bime 4. We did a team where we did CD, Pickens, Ferguson. We got Dak, and then we tacked on Miles Sanders in the 18, which is gross.
Yeah.
But guess what? So's Javonte, and he's going way higher. So
I know.
It's like, what if we're wrong about who the starter is? That's a pretty sick 18th round pick.
I know. It's kind of giving me vibes of the Chargers backfield ADPs last year, where the market was pricing Gus Edwards in this analogy as the Javonte Williams as the most expensive. And it was like, yeah, we're going to take cracks. Like we're going to miss on Kamani Vidal, but like maybe you land on the J.K. Dobbins cheap, where it's like getting to fade the kind of the least exciting of the trio or whatever at the most expensive. It just feels pretty nice.
I mean, it doesn't feel nice because it means you have to click Miles Sanders, but we did this last year with Dobbins because it's like, dude, how can this possibly work? Like he's dealt with so many injuries, like it's just not going to happen. And then it happened. So I want to be open to it in the 18th. It's not the type of thing where I want to ever pay more than an 18th round pick for Miles Sanders, but keep advertising that you drafted Miles Sanders might make you lower owned. Mac Nova says, I think. Do I want to be low owned? I guess maybe.
I don't,
because then it's likely there's someone banks with me.
I want to show you a very funny 1-2 on X. So hit him with the gritty, said, I'll take the cheap gritty for 5,700 gritty. And Leone replied, they should make you free. Like this contest is already bringing out Leone just savagely dunking on gritty right now.
That's so good. They should make you free.
Man, I do kind of wish we had Jaden Reed back now that Jordan Love is available.
Yeah, now I kind of wish we had
155.
Reed. Yeah. What do you think about?
We
could do Strange, and then we don't really need.
You could do Dobbs and then in Love if you want.
Oh, Dobbs and Love, but should we grab Love first?
I don't think this guy with Allen and
let's do
going
it.
To take him.
Let's do it.
And here's the thing. If he does, we're fine. We needed wide receivers.
Fine.
He does.
You took him immediately.
I think he's on auto draft, honestly.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Do you want to? Do you like Geno or Bryce Young more for this
Geno.
team? Geno.
Yeah.
So talk me through that. Just because we have, because we have 2 Carolina. I'll take Geno. I think it's close. I think I would have defaulted to Bryce, but why Geno over Bryce?
I have a harder time seeing like big ceiling stuff with Bryce, but maybe like I can see when I think about like the Raiders and what they look like in a really good season, it's like Chip Kelly offense is going to be built around the run, but they're going to have a lot of play volume and they're actually like scoring pretty effectively. So you have Geno just like very effectively managing this offense. I think Young I don't know. Young just feels like more like it's going to be like fits and starts. Like even if it's fun, we're dealing with some stinkers and then some good like kind of coming back from behind shootout stuff. So I guess you kind of deal with both. I'm a little bit worried about the ceiling of both players. I think Geno. I feel like if the Raiders are good, Geno will be like a bit more consistent. But I don't know. I might be slightly biased against Bryce Young. For getting benched for Andy Dalton for most of last year until he broke his thumb in a car accident.
Here's my thing. I think that bias is fine, but it's like in a reality where we drafted Chuba and Tet, like we need Bryce to be really good.
Yeah, we do. But I mean, we're reaching for one of them, and I think we can draft the other if he comes back.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess, like, who do you want if you're in a 2 quarterback build? I feel a lot more comfortable with Baker and Geno than Baker and Bryce.
Yeah, I think I default again to kind of playing the ADP game with them too. It's
with
close, Geno, it's like 6 picks. So
yeah,
the other thing too is like the way the Panthers ADPs come off here is then you get the Thielen, you get the Leggett drafter. Like I'm pretty sure like one of them will take him. Whereas with the Geno stuff, that's
true.
Besh.
That's a good point.
It's a little more top heavy.
You don't backstack Geno, and you do backstack Young,
right?
So that's actually a really good point. He's more likely to come back. Geno's more likely to come back.
I think most likely neither of them would. So you do just have to pick your favorite there. And who knows? Maybe the other thing you do is if you instead of taking Dobbs, if we take Leggett and then.
I think we should have taken Love, thinking he's on auto draft, and then we get Dobbs.
I know. I can't tell if he was on. I mean, he has to be on auto draft if he's snap picking a third QB. But yeah, that was. But
he's also he's doing correlation. He's got Kincaid and Ray Davis. So I don't know. Maybe he just.
Oh, he's in the chat. I took Love as my third QB there. So y'all would fade me as your fantasy best ball lineup.
Well done.
Ethan, can we get the real story? What are you doing? I mean, I get pretty massive Jordan Love value. Probably one of the biggest dips you'll see on him.
It's honestly a pretty solid pick. I kind of thought we should,
Kyler and Josh, though, that's tough. God, sidekick suggesting Darius Slayton to us already. Let's see.
Receiver. We got Giants.
Oh, I'm aware. So we got a 2-4-6-2. We still are certainly in the market for another running back, but probably want 2 more wide receivers as well.
Yeah, I'm down for either of these. I like Giddens and Lloyd.
Yeah. Let's see.
How many pounds do you think MarShawn Lloyd weighs?
210.
220.
Okay. Let's grab Lloyd. We have Dobbs. Get another little teammate pairing there along with our Carolina one.
I had in my head that I actually kind of like Slayton here.
Okay,
where are you at?
I'm fine with it. I at this point these names are all the same to me, and we just need to get wide receivers, so I'm good with that.
I had in my head that that Lloyd was like kind of a change of pace, like lightning back. And I was
really?
Yeah, like I think because of the way they talked about him after they drafted him, and then we never saw him. And so I just like subtracted like 25 pounds off of him. He was 195 by the time I was about to start drafting this year. And we like kind of went back and revisited because you're like, it's been a while since I've thought about MarShawn Lloyd. Let me revisit the prospect profile and stuff. And it's like, oh, this guy's 220 pounds. Like he's actually got pretty good contingent value.
It's so funny you say that because I've done the opposite with him. And this is an indictment. But when I picture MarShawn Lloyd in my head, my brain does a quick frame of Eddie Lacy first and then shifts over to MarShawn Lloyd. Like that's how I've been picturing it.
No one could pick MarShawn Lloyd out of a lineup outside of Green Bay.
It is funny though, you saying that, how we're kind of having to do a refresher on a lot of these year 2 backs. Where you find the Jalen Wright, the Blake Corums, you can include Benson in there, obviously MarShawn Lloyd, Shipley, like all these guys where it's like, okay, we need to now rethink through their profile through the lens of changed information where the initial thesis didn't really play out. And now we're all kind of questioning, is the upside still there?
Lloyd's interesting because he gets shut down for the year. I forget what the injury was. It didn't seem like the type of thing where they were going to be done for the year. But so you're kind of like, is that them being like, this guy's on what we're hoping? Yeah, it was a hamstring injury that he suffered during the preseason, then an ankle injury. So I think he played like one game, and then he had appendicitis. So it just maybe was just an injury riddled. It was multiple injuries, so that's probably better for the narrative that I was worried about, which is that they're kind of like, this isn't our guy after all. But then they don't really add anything, so it could be one of those situations. Like, remember after Jerome Ford's rookie season where they were like, "Yep, this is like I know you didn't see much of him, but like this is the backup. We feel good about it."
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of that vibes as far as at least what they did. I don't know how they feel about him. I haven't heard those types of quotes, but it seems kind of bullish in terms of the way the depth chart's playing out.
Yeah, and I do think, the most important data point to me is like, what did they tell us in the NFL draft? And these teams that didn't add anything, like the Rams are telling us something about Blake Corum, when they draft Jarquez Hunter. The Packers, who saddled up Josh Jacobs with a ton of touches, are kind of telling us that they're okay with their room right now. All right. We have 2 more picks left. We're on the clock. 2572. Still need more wide receivers here.
Dart went. I was kind of hoping to get Dart.
Yeah. You could do Horton as the bring back to our Seattle stuff.
That's cool.
Or our Carolina stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
Get a little more juice in the back end of this room. It's pretty balanced between veterans and rookies with Tet. Then do you want a 6th running back, a 9th wide receiver, or a quarterback Dart?
Unstack Tyler Shuck is just too eliminator-esque. I'm down for Woody Marks. Okay.
Get another teammate here along with Jalen Knoll, 6th running back. I do think the running backs are a little bit better than the wide receivers, I guess. Nabers, Evans, Tet, Godwin, Jalen Knoll, Dobbs, Slayton, Horton. That's probably fine, right?
Yeah, I think we're fine. I was hoping to get Dart. That's a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
Who took him?
He went at 201. So pretty cheap there. 2 picks
he had
before
Wandale.
us. Yeah.
Do you have Skattebo? He just did a little Wandale.
This is CLN. Went Goff, Penix, Dart, which is
okay.
Seems fine.
That seems fine.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Darnold sliding a good bit there. But yeah, I think this, once we reached for Baker, we're kind of putting him almost in that premium tier. It's just a little tweenerish, like Geno's on the back end of like, you can be a QB2 with that price. Whereas like you'd probably ideally have Baker with a more top 140 guy.
Yeah. I also think we're kind of digging into some stuff that's pointing towards 3 quarterback is pretty good for the playoffs. With the idea that like if you just happen to have like one of these 2 pocket passers crap out, it's like hugely detrimental to your team. And so just to have like the 3rd out of like a good quarterback score could be pretty huge. Like you think like how much has to go right for you to even make week 16, and then like you're not even like necessarily hunting for like a true spike week. You're just like hunting for not having a dud week at quarterback.
Right.
So that's where I'm starting to get a little bit more into 3 quarterback, but specifically for the playoffs. So it depends like how you feel about your team. Like if you're going 3 quarterback and you feel like you're sacrificing with advance rate, like I'd be much better odds to advance if I take a skill position player. If I shore up running back here, then I'm going to do that. I'm going to shore up running back. But I am thinking about it more like when it doesn't cost me much, it might actually be more helpful in the playoffs than I was thinking before.
Yep. All right, let me recap this team, get your final thoughts on it. 2682, Baker and Geno Smith at quarterback, running back room of Chuba, Caleb Johnson, Jordan Mason, Tyrone Tracy, MarShawn Lloyd, and Woody Marks. Wide receivers, Malik Nabers, Mike Evans, Tet McMillan, Chris Godwin, Jalen Knoll, Romeo Dobbs, Darius Slayton, and Torrey Horton. Tight ends, Brock Bowers and Goddard. Got some correlation in there. The double stack with the Bucks, although no Miami bring back for us. We got the Geno Dyson Darts game there and some Carolina Seattle stuff. Yeah, that's our game.
That's our game in week 17. We need that game
very badly. Yep. Yeah, other than that, like I do think the two picks, obviously kind of talking about how the teams look with the early tight end and then also that kind of Kaleb decision point, ended up putting us in a tough spot at wide receiver, like at the Jalen Knoll pick, where generally if you're picking a quarterback or tight end there, you feel a little bit better. But otherwise, I think we made it work.
I also think it shows that some of the downside of going ahead and locking up Baker, because we had naked Kyler come back to us. And it's like, what if we had a Puka, but then naked Kyler? Like, is that so bad? I'd rather have Baker, but with Kyler coming back, maybe Baker would have come back. So sometimes, some percentage of the time, I do just want to throw up the half court shot and hope that I can get the quarterback to fall. And then we feel better. We don't have to take Noel or Knoll because we already have a wide receiver 5. So that's a little bit of a sliding glass moment.
Here, who do we take if we decide let's push it with Baker? We're taking a wide receiver. The Igbuka thing opens us up to that weird situation. Do we take Downs probably instead?
Yeah, we could take Downs. We could take Downs for sure.
Downs gives you another, we could have done last round Daniel Jones as like the third quarterback on a build like
Richardson.
This. Could have made sense. Right.
Richardson I just mean so late.
Yeah. Richardson in this draft went, 171, and Daniel Jones went undrafted.
Richardson's weird because he has like such high bench risk that I think he might be back. Like there's some quarterbacks that I'm not touching that guy. He's going to get benched by the end of the season. And then, famously, I was like real anti-Howell. And then Howell had an awesome regular season to the point that he was like probably just worth taking. But then he does get benched like basically just for those playoff weeks, and it hurts. But Richardson it's like I think he gets benched way before that. But then Daniel Jones sucks. So does Daniel Jones get benched? Do we get Richardson back? So it's like hard. It's just harder to. There's more chaos with both quarterbacks that I kind of actually have a little bit of interest in Richardson cheap. Not a ton, but just like I want to mix him in because he does score so well when he plays. And I just have a really hard time predicting which weeks he won't play.
And it's so different. Like you said, both those quarterbacks are so chaotic that it's not like the Russell Wilson, Justin Fields situation where it's like, we all know that Russell Wilson can play just good enough to hold on to a job. We've seen him do it multiple spots, whereas there's no guarantees. Like both Richardson and Daniel Jones are so capable of a meltdown at a moment's notice that could cause a coaching staff that's trying to save their lives to yank around the starting quarterback on like a week-to-week basis, potentially.
They both have like head in hands, like Richardson just like missing wide open throws where you're like, this is the game. And like just hit a throw and he like just whiffs, like just absolutely airmails it. It's picked off. You're just like, we can't do this anymore. But then Daniel Jones has like no pocket awareness. He's constantly getting strip sacked, and so that could be like a whole nother version of like, get this guy off the field. And you could just, obviously none of this paints a bullish picture for the Colts, but I could see kind of a cycle of like, well, let's try Richardson again. He says he's been working on his accuracy.
Let me flesh this out then at Gal Brain as we talk through this for this quarterback room. Would this be one of the rare quarterback rooms, and it would take a very specific construction? I think that construction would be an elite QB.
I've thought about this. I've even done this.
Okay. And you take both Richardson and Jones.
I haven't done it yet in BBM, but I've done it in the big board. I just took both. So it's like, who was
your third quarterback? Do you remember?
Forget. But it was like a spot where I felt like I needed the help. Like I got boxed out. You know, it was probably something like this where I had like Baker and then I was going to do some other stacks and those guys got sniped. And so I just like pivoted to Colts QB as my quarterback too.
Because the reason I think it's interesting is unlike some of these other, someone in the chat earlier was asking about like, are you taking any darts on, Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, where it's like, even if you're right that they're playing in week 17, the fantasy floor or the fantasy ceiling is very much in question. Where I don't think, if you think about how Richardson and Daniel Jones will project on a week-to-week basis, either one of them, like they're going to have a pretty nice floor ceiling combination to where I wonder if you could make the argument where, hey, a lot of these 18-round picks are going to be zeros. If you're weak at quarterback and you're good at the other positions, just shoring up that QB2 spot where you're going to lock in like an 18-point floor and a decent ceiling each week, I could see it.
I think it'll be Leone just popped. I'm interested to hear what he thinks about it, because it's like we're talking about Richardson and Jones, because you are locking in a zero, like literally locking in a zero with one of your two spots, but you're also like, I think, locking in a really solid quarterback score by doing that. So it's somewhat intriguing, not something I would normally consider.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel I just have a tough time at a position like that, locking in a zero each week.
Yeah.
Even though I get it because they're both so cheap and they both run. I think it's probably bad though.
I think it's probably bad too, but I did enjoy doing it at least once, maybe twice with the 20 rounds. When we had the 20 rounds, I did it. Yeah.
Wait till you get week 15. Daniel Jones goes off, breaks his leg. ARich comes
ping pong
in.
weeks. We get the ping pong.
The Madison Dalvin Cook of the quarterback position.
I feel like the fear is that term is going to reach its zenith with these two, like in the most literal sense, every week, volley, just like back and forth changing. Leone, we had to get your statement. You body bagged Gritty on Twitter and then quickly walked it back. What do you have to say to yourself?
I felt bad. I took the low hanging fruit, I like Gritty. He does fun stuff. It's cool to see people trying new things. So I'm sorry, Gritty. But your salary is probably too high.
I literally bookmarked a tweet from Gritty over the weekend that I loved, where he was posting one of his, insane builds, and someone was like, doing their typical thing, like, why are you doing this? Blah, 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 blah. And I loved, let me pull up Gritty's response to this comment here. I just love this so much. He goes, I more than likely advanced more teams than you did last season in the big board and BBM. 99.9% of us are going to lose no matter what, how you draft. Have fun and be different. Enjoy the 45 minutes of drafting entertainment for your $25. I was like, this is our fucking Buddha over here with the most sage wisdom I've ever heard.
This is going to sound super hypocritical after I just trash talked Gritty on Twitter, but I don't get why people get so mad and interact so much with them. I feel like, Peter, you said something last year about how people would rather like argue and be right than actually win. It's like, here's someone who's doing no harm to anyone, just having fun and putting in teams that probably makes it more easy for the rest of us, and people like lose their minds over it.
It's so because
welcome to the internet, Mike Leone.
It's like every person on the internet loves feeling superior. I spotted this mistake, your thing doing wrong, and now I'm going to feel good about myself by pointing out why you're wrong. As opposed to being like, we just had this whole RTA, blah, 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 the edge is shrinking, and we still have this person telling Gritty that underdog should ban this guy because he's building suboptimal teams. It's like, my brain is going to explode from how that juxtaposes with the conversation from last week. Anyways, Pat, let people know what you got going on at Leg Up this week.
Well, speaking of RTA, we've got the sidekick over at Legendary Upside, which you guys just saw the dynamic rankings there. We got some exciting new features in the works. We'll start teasing those pretty soon, but you can check that out at legendaryupside.com/sidekick. And then we got DraftKings rankings, underdog rankings, bunch of articles rolling out. Matt Irby's had some good stuff on the site, digging through regression. He's got another article coming out soon. Daniel Raz, myself, I'll be posting over Legendary Upside. Just $10 a month right now.
Beautiful. All right. And you can check out Pat on ADP chasing tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Mike Shope is extremely fired up because he can draft in New York again. Like Leone, he even requested that the Statue of Liberty be placed on the thumbnail, which I have complied with that request. So you can look for that on the ADP chasing thumbnail tomorrow. Yeah, you can catch Pat as well with me and Davis on Ship Chasing on Thursdays as well. All right, Pat, we'll catch you next time on Best Ball Breakfast.
See you, Pat.
Later.
All right, Mike. Yeah, New York back wasn't last time.
No,
we
New
did
York
this show.
was not back last week. And I have not drafted yet, but I plan to this week a decent bit.
Beautiful. We were all talking about the contest, the Herzig Fantasy Contest earlier, and people were wondering if you were gonna get a max. And now these are things that have to be disclosed if people are paying up for your exorbitant salary.
What if I don't know? Like, can people just gamble? What if I put in 142 teams? Do I still count? I don't know the rules of this.
Herzig set something up in it where you can set an alternate, which is hilarious that this exists. And if you don't get to 100, you can swap out the person. But if you got to 142, they'd be stuck with you.
All right. I mean, you got to gamble on me. Am I going to get these drafts in or not? I don't know. I might touch some grass this summer.
That's what I was saying to Kerrane, that this is now going to be this thing where every time any best ball influencer or anyone is speaking, you're auditioning it to if someone wants to pay for your salary in the Herzig Fantasy Contest.
It'd be really funny to see I caught a little bit of what you guys were talking about, but like this subset of people who like draft me taking old vets and stuff versus the subset that drafts like, Kerrane taking all the rookies and stuff. And then we can have a fantasy draft on the subset of people that drafted us, and it'll go layers and layers deep.
Well, what Herzig really should do with that form is you could actually mine it for more of this information where you say, like, what ranking set do you typically draft off of? Like, where you could actually then see, like the profile. I guess it wouldn't perfectly self-select because then you're selecting other drafters, but it would be interesting to know, like you did the manifesto where you're trying to bucket data and all of this stuff. It'd be cool if you could be like, drafters who use this ranking sets. Obviously last year, drafters who fucking took running backs early crush, but if you found more sub demographics within that could be cool.
Yeah. It is interesting too, though, like how different some of my exposures are from people like who use the same ranking set, which is also, kind of part of the game.
For sure. All right, Mike, we are ready to go here. I just hopped us in a draft. We got the 1-8. I will get this up on screen.
I feel like me and Kerrane are always in the back half of the first round.
I do not complain about these things. I'm just stating it as fact, but man, I've had like 90% after 1-7 on stream so far this year.
Where's the influencer 101?
They don't exist. They don't exist. Although people, we were talking about it. People were asking me my favorite draft slot. I do like the back end of the board. The fact that you can get CMC, you can get like Tua BTJ and Nico at times. Like that is a really strong combination with kind of the, what I perceive as a tier gap in the back end of the round too.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, I got the ETR ranks loaded in. We didn't have too many big news things, on the football front, I feel like, since we last drafted, but has there been any projection things you guys have been dialing in of late?
We did kind of like our last big, I guess, model update last week. So just in general, there was some movement, and we won't move stuff on the schedule releasing too much unless someone just has like, a particularly good playoff schedule. But now that the schedule is released, we do get team totals and spreads for all the games that are a little iffy, but we'll use those to come up with like expected pass rates, like just purely based on Vegas, just to make sure, we're in touch with how the market sees these teams and the whole schedule.
Yeah. And yeah, it is interesting. Did you say then, like, because I was looking at projected points for teams like week 15 through 17 I want to say the Bengals were near the top, and then like the Browns were last, and there was like, I want to say like a 20-point gap. It was like 155 to 135. Like, would that trickle down into projections at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Essentially, we'll look at the team's team total for the whole season to kind of get a gauge on like how many touchdowns and stuff we should project them for. But we'll weight, weeks 15 to 17 heavier than the other weeks when we do that. So we haven't done that yet, but that will trickle down a little bit. Now, I said this last week, we won't move stuff based on like, fun correlation plays. Like that's sort of on you to do that yourself, as you add to your roster.
All right, we're on the clock here. Puka falls to 8. Looks like top of the ranks in ADP. Anything else you'd want to do?
No, I think it's Puka. We might have taken Jeanty in the spot last week. I hadn't someone I imagine I'll be underweight on, but I love Puka. I'm a huge Puka stan. So
I am too, and I think it's pretty exciting for just kind of like what the team has told us, which is essentially we're just going for it one more time. Let's get Davante Adams. Let's add another kind of explosive back. We'll add a tight end, in the draft, and just be like, can we have enough firepower to, go for it while Matthew Stafford's window is still slightly open?
Yeah, if you look at the yards per route run stuff through his first 2 years, I mean, the comps, there's almost no comps to what he's been able to do. So I understand playing with Stafford's going to buoy that a little bit, but he's playing with Stafford again. And I think sometimes he doesn't get enough credit for those first 2 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny too, because sometimes we think about these running backs who break out. Your Bucky Irvings, Tony Pollards are here. Let's make this pick. I took Derrick Henry on my first draft this morning. We could do Ladd, Bucky. What do you?
I would take Henry here.
Okay, let's do it. 2 Derrick Henry shares on Best Ball Breakfast this morning. Incredible stuff. No, I was just gonna say on the Puka thing, and then we can talk big dog, where I feel like there's the lingering skepticism of any player who skyrockets like that much. And there's always that fear of like, oh, Tony Pollard breaks out and then gets saddled up with a ton of touches, and I think that like has lingered a little bit for Puka, where I don't know, it just doesn't necessarily feel like a fun click for people for whatever reason.
I know Adam is worried the way he plays that he's just going to be someone that's more likely to get hurt than another player. I don't really subscribe to that, but I don't think it's a bad take. And if you did, I could understand some of the skepticism from that point. But yeah, from the way that offense runs, how he's performed for the first 2 years, I mean, the ceiling is incredible too. If he can find the end zone a bit more. I know people are worried about that with Davante Adams there, but they run those screens to Puka by the goal line. They do those end arounds to him. I do think it's not crazy that he could have a 10 touchdown season. And then you throw that onto all the efficiency and all the volume he's already getting, and he's a top 5 guy pretty easily.
All right, let's talk big dog. We take him at 17. Just kind of business as usual as far as projecting him. This offense, pretty stable environment, no significant additions in the draft. Is that kind of the take?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a half PPR format. This guy has to be one of the leading in odds to lead the league in touchdowns. Extremely safe offense to be around. If Lamar gets hurt, it's going to be, barring Lamar getting hurt, this offense is going to put up a ton of points. So, and Lamar's threat to run adds to the rushing efficiency. It's just really difficult to see him not being worth a mid-second round pick, barring injury. I don't think there'd be a skill drop off even at his age that would justify him not being taken here. I think it would take injury for him to not justify the selection. I feel like that's the end of a tier a little bit too, where we took him.
Okay. Yeah, like you see a break between him and Achane even, and JT?
Yeah, I think so. I would say we actually have Henry more like a 1-2 turn pick. So once you get past really Bowers, in my opinion, is sort of the last guy I think I'd maybe take in front of him. Even then, I'm probably more Henry, but he felt pretty clear to me there.
All right, we are about to pick. Chase Brown is the ranking and ADP value. Evans is also up here.
Man, I mean, that's if you sort on ADP again.
Yeah.
I think, 3 picks at this point, better than anyone else. I think I would take the ADP in conclusion with the rank. I know we already have running back, and you got to start getting nervous that we're in one of these rooms that's going to punish us for going running back early based on how it's falling. But I think I'd take the value there and then just make it work.
Yes. Yep. Puka, Derrick Henry, Chase Brown here. And yes, I recognize most of these usernames, so they will be prepared to punish us if we don't adapt accordingly. But I like getting the Chase Brown value there as well.
This is a little repetitive from last week, but Pat was talking about liking the 3 quarterbacks in the playoff structure for BBM, and I completely agree. And, obviously these early running back builds sort of lend you towards the last running back darts later in the draft, which gives you more slots to play those 3 quarterback teams.
Yeah. And really the thing I was talking about with Kerrane, whether you take the elite tight end early, whether you take the plunge on Allen or Lamar here, it's just, you can get away with, 1 or so, but it gets hard if you get too far behind at wide receiver. So it's just like, you're going to get in a spot here where we probably want to grab around 4 wide receiver, despite the quarterback and running back. We took Travis Hunter last week. He goes. So we would have to reach pretty big. I don't want to force this into a wide receiver. If you think we can dig out of this, I'm open to trying.
Let's try it. Let's have some fun, right? I think I'd go elite quarterback here. I'm so torn on the Lamar versus Allen with Henry. I know you did Lamar with Henry.
Yeah.
I'd go Allen or Lamar here, and then let's see if we can make it work.
Let's do Allen. Let's mix it up. He's the bigger ADP value and gives us, you're ping ponging in a way with like those two in just a different way where you're playing like the elite ceiling game from Allen opposite the Henry games.
And we're no doubt taking a gamble here. If you wanted to play it safe, you would just take Metcalf there or whoever and take wide receiver and just make sure you don't get too far behind there. But I do think sometimes, even if you're worried that it's not going to turn out well, it's fun to try these builds where the room gives you a certain start early and then you just do your best to square peg and round hole it, just make it work.
And the one thing that's a little different, I feel like, compared to years past, is, I look at these next picks. We pick at 56, 65, and 80. And even in wide receiver heavy-ish rooms, there still are decent picks at these selections. To me, it's like after pick 100, if you're really needing to round out wide receiver room, like in the 100 to 140 range, that's where I really get uncomfortable. Whereas here, I still feel like we can kind of sit in the pocket and have some nice options.
Yeah, of course, I was just speaking glowingly of 3 quarterback builds, but now we're on a 2 quarterback build. We're on a 2 quarterback hyper fragile build, which does give us kind of that old school thing that worked, 3 or 4 years ago, where you could take 10 wide receiver, at least 9 wide receivers, maybe not 10. 10 might be too much, because we'll probably need 3 tight ends, but we'll get up there in quantity at wide receiver for sure.
Yep. And there are so many good running backs in this range too that, drafters have a hard time passing those up. We do see Hurts falling here, but it looks like by ADP, the wide receivers are Waddle, Addison, Olave. By rank,
I think we are agreed mostly with that, or pretty close.
Yeah. We'll see what MN base does here. The running backs are slightly falling. You see Mixon. He goes Mixon. So Waddle looks
I
nice.
love Waddle.
Yeah.
I like taking a chance on Miami just being, right. We get a little week 16 Miami Cincinnati matchup too. I'll talk about week 17 always when the schedule releases, but I did look at stuff last year that weeks 15 and 16, the correlation matters too. It doesn't help you as much in a one specific week setting as week 17 based on the structures, but it's good to have banked that EV earlier, and it does help you at least a little bit. So not the reason why we made the pick, but just a bonus there to have some playoff correlation.
Yeah, and I was showing this earlier because someone was asking about that too. And that 1 of 16, that is still a really hard thing to do. So getting, extra correlation boost where you're not having to pay a premium for it is a nice little bonus.
Yeah, and Tua is one of our QB values, which sets up to take a second quarterback. I mean, he's going in the 150s, so we can wait a bit, hopefully get him and call it a day with 2 quarterbacks. I'm sure we'll have other stack options given that I mean, we've got Stafford late. We're gonna have to take one of these mid-round quarterbacks with mid-late round quarterbacks to go with Allen.
Ooh, Ben got a fun team that you don't see a lot. Got the AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Hurts. So pulled up Devontae Smith, but then got the Hurts to push through all the way back to him. That's a nice build there. All right, ADP. Looks like you guys have Judy, and then he's right here with like Godwin, Debo. I definitely like Judy there if that's your pick.
Yeah, I'm good with Judy. I was just checking to see if there's any obvious correlation stuff. I don't think so.
Pittsburgh there. Cleveland, Pittsburgh with the Turd Bowl.
We've taken Njoku, I think, the first 2 weeks on this. Judy is sort of the same case, which is a player that has a decent pedigree that basically has to get volume. And we're worried about those guys when they're not any good. But Judy has some again, talent and prospect pedigree to him. So I like that selection in the 6th.
Yeah, I saw our friend Sam Sherman was tweeting out a graphic of all of the ballyhooed like Ohio State wide receivers and now where they're priced, and like the JSN, you're having to pay a 2nd round price tag for a couple of these guys, but then looking in Garrett Wilson, but then there's the Judy, the Chris Olave, and there's one more I'm forgetting back here, who are all much cheaper, kind of like your arbitrage on these guys who have had like good careers.
Maybe a Dunze. I mean, I guess a Dunze's doesn't have the good career, but he's kind of, I mean, JSN didn't really until his year 2 breakout either.
I think, his thing was about specifically Ohio State wide receivers. But Judy's such a fascinating one too, of like how we've ping ponged, there was that year with the Broncos, right? Like he was going at the 3-4 turn when people were really excited about him, and then, swung back in the other direction where no one wanted him. I think we talked last week about the Browns and like how much you're forecasting, Flacco versus, mystery box quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, Judy's coming off a good year too. 145 targets, by far his career high. I mean, over 1,200 yards. Like he's coming off a solid season for a player that's still in his peak and had that sort of prospect profile.
Yeah. You're right, Tim. Wasn't Judy Alabama? Now I'm mixing up whatever Sam's tweet was.
He was Alabama. I was just thinking big school guys that had good prospect profiles that maybe didn't work out right away was sort of where I was going.
Yeah, and it's like we put so much on these like early draft picks that there are going to be some that have like solid but not spectacular careers, like an Amari Cooper type too, right? Like where he was drafted, you just expect him to basically be a Hall of Famer, and sometimes they you shoot for the stars and land at the moon or whatever.
My fingers here, Peter.
Yeah, Emin base here is yes. All right, we get Shakir.
This is an easy pick. We have him ranked ahead of ADP. We're getting him after ADP, and it's correlated. So about a clean of a pick is you're going to get.
And it is like, it's such a, because often when you take Allen, right, you're going to be behind at wide receiver. And on top of that, Shakir's profile, it's not like the Keon Coleman pick last year where there's just so much volatility. Like, you know what you're getting from Shakir. So he fits so well when you're catching up at wide receiver on a Josh Allen team.
I think there's so many guys you can stack with Allen this year too, which makes him, even more appealing than last year with the Keon price tag dropping. We have Keon as a value, Shakir as a value, Kincaid as a value. It's going to be annoying and spread out, but they didn't add much. They added Josh Palmer, but they lose Amari Cooper, who they had gotten in the trade midseason last year. I was talking with Joe Buscaglia, who's a really good beat writer for Buffalo, and we can pick here.
Yeah, so ADP is Aaron Jones and Darnell Mooney, as is ranks there too. Should we get Mooney for a fifth wide receiver? You want to tack on
Mooney.
Jones?
I think I'd go Mooney here.
I do as well. That we also get the correlation of Puka and Mooney in week 17.
Nice. I just keep tacking on to receiver if it's close, with having 3 non-wide receiver picks in the first 4 rounds. But yeah, talking to Joe B, because I know there was an article about Kincaid not being at full strength yet. And I think a lot of the people misinterpreted that article. They were literally talking about like his strength for like blocking and stuff. Like it wasn't like he's still injured sort of thing. And people were interpreting it that way. So
yeah.
He's pretty in on Kincaid. You know, he follows the team very closely. He obviously take with a grain of salt, just like me saying I like Kincaid. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I do like the price tag on a few Buffalo pass catchers.
And it's nice, right? Because yes, the offense is spread out. Like everyone kind of gets that at this point, but it's different. Like when you look at, say, who would be a good example? Maybe like the Bears wide receiver ADPs. Like you need that offense to smash and kind of be consolidated. Whereas when we get these cheaper price tags now, like what you need from Dalton Kincaid at a 13th round or whatever price tag versus 5th is just so different, where you can kind of enjoy like just a couple spike weeks as opposed to needing that consistent production to pay off that tag. So yeah, they are a nice team to stack up cheap.
And surprisingly, I mean, we didn't do too poorly relative to ADP on our wide receivers for chasing the position. Sometimes it's like you reach half a round, like 6 rounds in a row. We don't really have a bad reach here, which is nice. That was the gamble we took when we took Allen, is we were going to have to make like 3 consecutive bad reaches. And, you know, we really, I mean, from Waddle through Mooney, you know, we're kind of netting out even with ADP.
Yep. Yeah, to get to 5 wide receivers here. Yeah, we're like you said, Puka slightly behind ADP, Waddle slightly ahead, Judy slightly ahead, Khalil slightly after, Mooney slightly after. Yeah, to get to 5, and then we still have Allen. We have Derrick Henry, Chase Brown, and now we're going to hit a pretty nice sweet spot for running backs and tight ends, which is kind of what we could swing back to here.
John would have been pretty nice, but we're still a few picks away.
Yeah, Jonnu goes at 100 there. Yeah, the Jonnu, like with Waddle, is kind of a nice one because if the Tyreek Hill drafter has like an expensive QB, you can start to get Tua extremely cheap. So we'll see what MN Base does here. Goes Bateman. We could do Andrews as our first tight end and another Raven. Jaylen Warren.
I mean, Keon's got to be close-ish, right? I mean, we're not that far off ADP.
Keon? Yeah. 108. I'm on board with that.
We just build out the Josh Allen stack. We're getting into an interesting position at receiver where we're not going to I would talk about getting to like 9 receivers. We're going to have more flexibility the way this is shaken out than we initially thought.
Yeah, team so far, Josh Allen at quarterback, Henry, Chase Brown up top, and then 6 wide receivers here. Puka, Jaylen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Shakir, Darnell Mooney, Keon Coleman. After that Allen pick, 5 straight wide receivers there. So yeah, catching up nicely.
And we've still got a few rounds before Stafford and Tua.
And we also have Penix.
Yeah. So we got... It's nice they all go in a similar range where we can play the board a little bit. I know sometimes you get screwed. They like go 3 in a row, but we can play the board a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. And that is really the nice thing about that. Yeah. To have 3 different quarterback outs, and they're kind of on the cheaper side of this range as well. So we'll kind of see the run on these quarterbacks. The CJ Stroud, Justin Herberts will come off the board, but those guys can chill, into the 137, 152, 161 range.
What do we got going on at tight end?
Wow. Baker. Pat and I reached to lock up a Baker double stack at our draft before. Now we're watching him slip all the way to is Zab's going to get, he's going to get Evans with Baker at 112. That's pretty nice.
Wow. That's
enjoy Zabs. So by ADP, you're looking at like Tracy, Harris, Tootin, Ranks, Harris, Tyrone Tracy. What do you like?
What's the tight end? Sorry,
tight end, Evan Engram, Njoku, Warren.
Kind of like Warren, or we could go third running. Am I punting third running back for too long? I'd probably go Warren or Tracy.
Okay, let's grab Warren. I think I prefer him. Talk to me through like Warren over, Njoku or Engram there.
So I guess I'm thinking we're going to have a 3 tight end build, and I know there's like projectable volume tight ends that we're ahead of ADP on that I can get. So I'm breaking my tie in favor of the rookie, just knowing how my final room is going to look like. Like I want one guy with a lot of upside, and I'm going to get, whether it's Kincaid and Njoku coming back, Freiermuth later. Like I'm going to get one of those boring guys. That's sort of my thought process. This happened the year Laporta broke out, where we didn't have a great rank on Laporta, but a lot of times if I was drafting 3 tight ends late, I would take Laporta first, just knowing he's the only guy of these tight ends that has that rookie upside archetype. And then I'm going to be able to backfill 2 tight ends with the other archetype that maybe I technically have ranked higher. So that's the thought process on Warren.
Yeah, I like that as well. And I've, the builds where I've gotten to Warren, it's been through that same thought of like, I know this is going to be a 3. I want to say all my Tyler Warren builds, and I don't want this to be 100% true for my portfolio, but they're almost all 3 tight end builds where it's like, I kick it off with him and then saying, all right, I can get 2 other guys around him where if he's a slow starter or really volatile, like I can survive that.
We talked a little about the ARich Daniel Jones thing together, but just individually, if I have like a gut take right now, I think ARich in these BBMs is pretty fun late. I mean, if he wins that job and just has a great year, I mean, that's a guy that could be going in round 6 next year. I mean,
well, that's where he was going.
Right, that's where he was going.
Yeah.
And if you look at his, there's a lot of ifs. Like he has to win the job, he has to stay healthy. He hasn't been able to do those things, consistently enough. But man, I feel like I like that bet better than like the Fields bet last year late. Maybe just too much Anthony Richardson trutherism, but.
Well, and it goes, last year, we were kind of talking about it with Pat, but that like Russell Wilson and Justin Fields couldn't be any different as archetypes. And so it's like, if the coaching staff wants to go to something else, you look at, Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson are the Spider-Man meme pointing at each other. And if it's close, the organization is still going to break ties in favor of Anthony Richardson. Like they would like to save face on that draft pick, even though they're encouraging competition and bringing Daniel Jones in. So yeah, I think the price is at the point where I don't mind it. It's just like the Richardson or Jones basically have to be in 3 quarterback builds, right? Like a Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson duo still kind of puts you pretty vulnerable.
100% agree, because you're really taking on the unnecessary risk of like, you've already got a spike week quarterback. And you could survive Richardson not starting, half the year if you've got 3 QBs,
Yeah, quarterback still sliding. I think we can chill on that for sure. You could lock up Kincaid if we don't have one of these running backs we love.
I think I'd go. I think I maybe would go Javonte here. I'm torn between Javonte and just locking up the stack. But go to tight end. Is there? I know we're running out of time. Because we've got I think there's enough. I think I go Javonte.
Yep. All right. We'll take Javonte here.
We've got Pitts potentially in a stack. We've got Goddard, who just, I think, is a strong value. I heard Pat mention that, and we agree. And I've just gotten into trouble where like I like a tight end, but there's enough in this range. We already grabbed one.
There's also like, we have permission to really punt RB3 because we started with two anchors here, but there also is a run on running backs that have, some kind of projectable workload over these next 3 to 4-ish rounds. And if we already know that one we're going to be using, if not 2 on a quarterback potentially, or 1 on a quarterback, you got to pull the trigger on a running back at some point.
Yeah. And now we can kind of take 2 running backs later that are, I guess, like fun, if you will, because we've got our two anchors early, and then we've got Javonte as sort of this boring guy that should definitely start the year with a workload.
Let's see. Kincaid doesn't make it back to us. Neither does Goddard. Quarterback's really falling here. This is probably a running back pick.
Yeah. Do we take our last? We get Ray Davis as part of the Buffalo stuff.
Yeah. I don't mind.
Spears, though, is a pretty good value here, too. I'd go Davis or Spears.
Let's see. Sure. Let's do Spears. We can. Oh no, I wasn't quick enough.
Davis. We're going.
We got Davis. You know, we missed out on Kincaid, so getting that third bill on an Allen team seems fine.
Yeah. So I think the next 2 picks, barring something unforeseen positionally, is probably going to be quarterback, tight end for us.
Yep.
In some order.
Yeah, so we are at a 1-4-6-1, probably 2 quarterbacks, probably 3 tight ends, and then can play around with the exact running back, wide receiver.
The Javonte Kincaid thing is definitely an interesting thing to think about. But you do see, even though we end up going running back again, that in my opinion, a tier drop off after Javonte there.
Yeah. Yeah, the Javonte's an interesting one. We do get him at a value, ADP 120, falls to 128. I feel like as the summer progresses, the way they were drafted in this room is going to be more reflective of kind of how ADP settles, with Blue going ahead of Javonte, even though their ADPs are flipped right now. It's just how I think the market will kind of handle it. So to me, the only question is like, are we going to start to get increasingly cheaper and cheaper Javonte, or is he going to hold steady?
That might be true for the first month, but once we get into those preseason games and like Javonte's clearly ahead to start, I could see it going the other way.
That's true. Like Jaden Blue could easily have Kamani Vidal type run out where it's just like, he's not ready. He's not, what we thought. And, the beat reporters are talking about Miles Sanders and Javonte and forget to mention Jaden Blue. And then we're all like, oh, fuck, what are we doing?
Yeah. And we took Blue the first week I did this, I think.
We did.
Took Blue at cheaper, I'm pretty sure, than he's going right now.
Yeah. Let me, I'll just go look for fun here.
Oh no, you're live fact checking me.
I am. Well, it's fun to see where we took these other guys here. Jaden Blue we took at pick 149.
Value hounds.
Look at that. Well, and that's the kind of fun way you can play these ambiguous backfields. Like one room gave you Blue at an extreme value, one gave you Javonte, and now you have a better version of both those teams. Josh Palmer goes, not that we were, hoping and praying that he would come back, but one of the last pieces on the Bills that is viable to draft. Penix went at 145 there. We do see the quarterbacks start to come off the board. Nice prices on Herbert, 139, Jordan Love at 140. Tua and Stafford both still available. Do you have a preference on one of those on this team?
I prefer Tua. I know sometimes, I think you had this conversation with Pat, but like you take the quarterback attached to it, you kind of think like, oh, we took Puka, we need Stafford, but like Puka with his volume can get there with any year. If Waddle really hits that, Tua is probably coming along with him, and we just have Tua ranked higher.
Is there any running back or tight end that you would want to take to push Tua, or should we just lock up Tua?
I think we should lock up Tua. I feel a little bit like a coward saying that because I see all these teams have 2 quarterbacks already, but we have Tua as a good value to begin with, so I just think I'd lock him in.
And like if there was an ADP value, that we thought, I'm trying to think, like say Garendo fell to 152, where you're getting an interesting piece who's 8 picks. I'm trying to come up with a better example, but if there was a value, then you could take it. But if the board's flat, you might as well just lock it up.
Yeah. Looking at, I don't, probably tight end coming back here, unless we just really get screwed at the position.
We're at a 2-4-6-1. So Josh Allen and Tua. Allen, we have kind of onslaughted with Ray Davis, Shakir, and Coleman. We got Tua stacked up with Waddle. We got our 2 anchor RBs up top, Derrick Henry and Chase Brown, along with Javonte and Ray Davis. Our other wide receivers, Puka, Jerry Jeudy, Darnell Mooney. And then our 1 tight end holding it down here in Tyler Warren. Looks like the big... Oh, yeah.
So I was going to say, like, archetype-wise, I know Rashad White doesn't make a ton of sense for our room, but I think I would probably take him in the value if he slipped all the way to us and just call it a day at running back there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing about tight end is, like you said, like you see all of these names here, a lot of guys that you feel good. Rachaad White does go, which isn't a big deal.
Yeah, not a big deal. Just would have been fine pivoting to take that.
Freiermuth plays opposite of our Cleveland thing in the Turd Bowl in week 17. It seems like you like him, see him as a rankings value here.
He's got Miami week 15 as well.
Okay.
Positional need, a guy we have ranked ahead of ADP. Not a ton of competition for targets behind Metcalf there. Still some hope they sign Rodgers or something. So I think Freiermuth's a pretty good value right now.
Yep. Yeah, now we get our second tight end there. Pat Freiermuth is he's like Cole Kmet if the Steelers or the Bears didn't draft, a first round wide receiver, where it's like he's a guy that's just been good, has had rocky quarterback play, and now the outlook is definitely better without an additional target there for him. And even the way DK Metcalf has never been the Devontae Adams type target earner, where there's such a vacuum of targets there, where I think there's room for Freiermuth to earn a decent amount of targets in that room.
Yeah, absolutely on the same page. Looking at our correlation stuff we've got set up, then we've got Freiermuth coming back on the Tua stack. We've got Chase Brown coming back on the Tua stack week 16. The Josh Allen stuff, we've got Judy coming back week 16. We don't have a ton, at least with our quarterback specifically week 17 yet.
Yeah, Philly and Tampa Bay, some options. Will Shipley, Cade Otton. There's a little bit of stuff there. Nothing that we have to force. But I think positionally, now we're in really good shape. Quarterback, tight end, we're going to tack a third on there. The wide receiver kind of surprised us how much we were able to cover ground there. And then running back with those two anchors up top. So I think we can kind of pick our spots rest of the way.
Yeah, we kind of feel like we have a bonus pick in here at some point.
Yep. Yeah, and that's where I don't think there's anything. Well, would we consider Stafford as a third quarterback if he fell?
I was just thinking about that with I think, let's see what's on the board. I think it might, probably not, but I don't think it's, outrageous to consider with Puka there. And in a 12-team standalone league, you would never. But for the BBM specifically, to have three separate stack quarterbacks, I'm generally against stuff that's unique, like trying to get unique combos. But the three quarterbacks is a nice way to get unique stuff in the playoffs, where Stafford goes off that wild card round to Puka, and now all of a sudden there's not very many Allen Tua teams remaining.
I just surveyed the board, so the Devontae Adams drafter is in front of us. So if he doesn't take him, there's a three quarterback team, there's a Mahomes Kaleb team, there's a Hurts Stroud, there's a Baker Trevor, and no Rams pieces behind us. So I would say this is a spot we could try to push Stafford to 185 if we like something here.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Gesicki at tight end. If we do get Stafford, I know we're pretty ahead of Tutu Atwell later too, but I don't think we definitely would not need to take him and Stafford here. We could go
Stafford does go. So
he goes to that guy. So it's moot. I think I'd go Gesicki here, but there's a couple tight ends that seem fine.
I like Gesicki because we also pair him up with Chase Brown, getting another little Cincy pairing there. You could call that like the Crater duo, where everybody's piling in their Joe Burrow doubles and all of that. And if it's just the Chase Brown, Mike Gesicki game, nice little leverage angle there.
Yeah, there was, I'm going to say that, the 4 tight end builds did well last year. They rebounded.
You've always been 4 tight end curious is how I would describe
that is a great way to put it. I feel like Dan Zach ran pretty bad. Like 2 years ago, he was drafting like these robust RB teams with 4 tight ends, and it got demolished. And then last year, he needed to go all in again. I don't think the 4 tight end is something that I would do like I don't know, 3% of the time. But I don't think it's a 0% thing. I don't think like Auden at a certain point would be outrageous for this team. I don't know if we're there yet, though. We need another running back at some point.
Yeah. Devin Neal could give us a little upside juice in this room.
Yeah, I like Neal or Lloyd. I think I would go Neal here.
Yeah, let's do Neal.
Just bet against Kamara every year. It's got to work at some point, right?
It's going to be so funny if it's like Kamara goes down, but then Kedre Miller is the answer this year. Like that feels like how the best ball gods would laugh at us. I do like it though. Like you said, we can take some pretty big swings with that anchor. So I like the idea of leaning into a rookie with some upside here. It's funny you mentioned that like 4 tight end thing. And, you know, I think what the lesson to me, and I'm pretty sure Dan would admit to this, is that he was kind of forcing that structure into most rooms. Like he'd be like, I'm taking my running backs early no matter what. I'm taking my tight ends late no matter what. And I think if you blended that with maybe a little bit more of a flexible strategy to what the rooms were giving you and just go to that 4 tight end strategy when the room is pushing you, even if you're behind on the ranks, like there's going to be times where you're going to get a really good tight end value and a 4 tight end room is just like not going to make sense. So I think it's keeping those things in your back pocket. If on a rainy day, you don't have a tight end through 15 rounds, it's like, all right, maybe this is the one.
Yeah. And I don't know if Auden went before us, and part of the appeal was like, we're also getting a correlated piece. But let's say Auden had made it all the way back to us in 17. Like, I think at that point, you're getting a clear-cut starting pass catcher, right? So even though it's your 4th tight end, like he can contribute in flex, it's correlated. We also have wound up with kind of a bonus pick here with probably stopping at 2 quarterbacks. We're good at running back. We've got the 3 tight ends. Receiver, we definitely have a very flexible pick. Sometimes it's very clear, the construction you need laid. For this team, I don't think it is as clear.
Leone, I'm such an idiot. Woodband says the Leone intro reel is heating up. I have an intro reel. I had it made. It's in StreamYard. I forgot to play it. And so the first time ever to get Mike Leone and to get you guys pumped up to watch Mike Leone make 2 more picks at pick 200 and 209 in a Best Ball Mania draft, I present to you the new Leone Best Ball Breakfast intro.
Paul Pezlesny.
You're a psychopath.
Travis Kelce, alpha play. Jamar, alpha play chase.
Give me rookies or give me death.
Welcome to the stream, Michael Leone, to make a 17th and 18th round pick. How did I?
Hey, we just drafted a rookie. It was well timed. You were just waiting for the rookie pick.
Give me my first rookie at pick 185 or death. Okay. Tutu Atwell here. You guys love him. He's going to be your Rashard Perriman this year. You realize that, right?
Yeah. I mean, no, Brown's not too far behind in our love ranks. I like Tutu.
We have Puka. Yeah.
Yeah. Just buying into the Rams offense a little bit.
You could also do another Atlanta piece, like because Ray McLeod is paired up with Mooney. So both those would be in play.
Yeah, we have Tutu as wide receiver 3 right now. We don't have him with a ton of volume and stuff. We have him less than his targets the past 2 seasons. If he holds off Whittington, I think Whittington obviously gives you a bit more juice if Adams or Puka went down and like maybe there's some upside that clearly Tutu doesn't possess. But if you're just looking for usable weeks, I think Tutu is going to be solid.
Yeah.
All right, so what are we thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, we are 2-5-7-3. We're good at quarterback. We're good at running back. We're good at wide receiver. We're good at tight end. I'd call this a true luxury pick, Michael Leone.
Yeah, my lean would be to take maybe a wide receiver swing on some upside, especially after that boring 2-2 pick. But
yeah, let's see. Are there any correlation angles? There's nothing fun with
There's
Philly.
Not really. I mean, did Shipley? I'm assuming
Shipley went. I watched him come off the board.
Yeah. God, there's really nothing correlation wise. I'm still maybe Wicks. I mean, I still don't think that receiver room with Christian Watson out for pretty much the whole year is totally settled.
I'm not forcing. I'm fine with Ray McLeod. If we want to get 2 additional stacks, week 17, top of the ranks there. Like there's nothing we have to force if there's no fun players.
Yeah, I'd probably be Wicks or McLeod.
Yeah. Yeah, Wicks opposite the big dog. All right, make your last choice, McLeod or Wicks?
I think I go Wicks.
All right, we'll go Wicks. There you go.
I think we could afford to take the previous pick took like, hey, this is the guy that's going to be on the field. We kind of got that pick, and we ended up better at receiver than we thought. So I think taking a guy that has a really good targets per route run, even though it hasn't translated to the fantasy success we'd hoped to, makes sense on the squad.
As this draft wraps up, and before we recap it, this is a fun question here from CLN. How much would NFL banning tush push change your guys' Eagles projections?
I mean, we might get 101 Saquon if that was the case, right? I mean, it would change quite a bit. I mean, there's a ton of Jalen Hurts' value. Like if you break it into percentage from tush pushes is meaningful. I think it'd be mostly taking like 3 to 4 touchdowns from Hurts to Saquon. Maybe not direct 100% that way, but maybe like half of those go to Saquon and half get distributed elsewhere. But I'm looking up the rushing touchdowns for Hurts, and yeah, I mean 13, 15, 14 the last 3 seasons. So you're still talking a guy that can run for 8 to 10 touchdowns probably. And like they can regular QB sneak, right? Like it's not like they can't QB sneak at all.
It's funny because I bet the distinction probably would be way more drastic on a weekly basis, right? Like as it's reflected in your Barkley and Hurts individual game projections, where it probably gets a little smoothed out over 17 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's accurate to say. And in my head too, I was initially reacting like eliminating all sneaks, and like they're not going to get the auto tush push, but if they're on the half-yard line, they're probably still sneaking the ball.
Yeah. It's an interesting thought experiment. And Hurts, it's funny because of the elite quarterbacks, I'll see like Allen and Lamar slide 5 or 6 spots, maybe Jaden Daniels slide 3 or 4 spots. But Hurts is the one that I will see slide a full round, like we just saw in this draft. And granted, it was because this drafter cornered the market on Eagles pass catchers. But even outside of that, like I'll see Hurts fall into the mid 6. So there is something, I don't know what's driving that. Maybe the tush push band is already front of mind for drafters, but it's just interesting to me that he is the one of that quartet who seems to fall.
Yeah, I think it's, maybe a little bit perceived lack of upside with the Eagles defense just being so outstanding that people don't see that season where he's really pushed. You just had Saquon have this huge season. I think that's maybe overweighting on people's minds, but I think he's fine to take, unstacked anywhere in the 6th round, knowing that one, those types of quarterbacks you can win without getting them stacked, and knowing that you get Goddard too as a pretty good value late if you do really want to at least get some pass catcher correlation in there.
How much do you think like the Goddard price is just from like all the early offseason trade rumors? Like I'm just wondering, like if those weren't front of mind, would he be going higher? Because he also finished the season strong. He had a couple really nice games in the playoffs, if I recall correctly. I'm just wondering why people are kind of out on him otherwise.
It's so odd. I remember we were very high on Goddard, pretty high on him last year in the seasonal rankings. It didn't work out well, but then come the playoffs, every week we were showing like unders on his props, and he kind of burned us a couple weeks until we got it back on the Super Bowl. I don't really understand the price tag on Goddard. Maybe it's the same thing as Hurts, like this perceived lack of a huge ceiling where you've got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, and a really good defense, and you just don't see that ceiling. But I think if that's what's doing it, maybe in conjunction with the early offseason uncertainty, people are overcounting that for sure.
Yeah. All right, let me read the full team for you that we just drafted and get your thoughts on it. Josh Allen and Tua at quarterback there. Derrick Henry, Chase Brown, Javonte Williams, Ray Davis, Devin Neal are 5 running backs. 8 wide receivers, Puka Nacua, Jaylen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Khalil Shakir, Darnell Mooney, Keon Coleman, Tutu Atwell, and Dontavian Wicks. And then 3 tight ends, Tyler Warren, Pat Freiermuth, Mike Gesicki. After taking the 2 early running backs in Josh Allen, how do you think this one turned out?
I think it turned out pretty well. It's, I think, indicative of how I draft a lot, which is kind of taking that value early and making it work. A lot of picks close to ADP value while still getting some correlation in, mixing in a couple rookies where it makes sense archetype wise. Like we kind of have one upside pick in each of our running back, wide receiver, tight end rooms there. And then I know Wicks isn't a rookie, but just kind of counting him as that archetype for the wide receiver group. So yeah, it was a fun draft. It was nice to be able to catch up at wide receiver and not feel totally dead there. There are some drafts where if you start the way you do, you reach 8 picks ahead of ADP, like 4 rounds in a row, and it starts to feel pretty ugly. So I'm glad that didn't happen to us.
Yeah, I like how it worked out getting Shakir and Keon Coleman at nice prices and correlated on a team that needed wide receivers. Like you said, we got boxed out of maybe some of the like cleaner correlations, like a Rachaad White, Cade Otton. There didn't get anything on Philly on the bring back, but also there's not a lot of players on either of those teams that are even viable late. It's not like if you're going against Carolina and it's like there's 8 different options to stack there. So it's like if you miss the boat early, you kind of just have to be okay not having the week 17 correlations there.
Yeah, we passed, I believe, on Kincaid and Goddard with the Javonte Williams pick. That would have made this, I think, a really nice draft if one of those 2 had come back, right? Instead of kind of forcing the Ray Davis pick, even though it's correlated, that was probably not our favorite pick at that point in the draft. But otherwise, yeah, it worked out pretty nicely.
And I think how you talked about Tyler Warren and prioritizing him even ahead of ADP with how the tight ends late shake out really came to fruition, where with Pat Freiermuth, you're chasing a good bit of, projectable target share. And then with Gesicki, you're touchdown hunting essentially on a good offense and playing kind of the contingent upside card. Like Gesicki has his splits last year when one of Chase or Higgins were out were really nice. So you feather in some really kind of nice options at tight end, even if Tyler Warren is struggling.
Yeah, and it's a good example of like trying to foresee where the value is going to be in the draft, and again, like how you want your room to look at the end of the draft in terms of the archetypes in it. It's not always going to work out perfectly. Like we almost took Rachaad White as a 5th running back who, like if you were to ask us to draw up the 5th running back to go on like somewhat of a hyper fragile team, you would not say Rachaad White, but it would have worked out. So you do want to be flexible, but it's nice to think about it ahead of time, and that can kind of dictate some of your tiebreakers earlier.
And it's so funny too, because it's like I do like using those tiebreakers based on the type of players you drafted earlier. Do we need more upside? Do we need the touches? There's a big difference between taking Austin Eckler and taking Devin Neal or whatever, as far as like what you can expect. But there's also like the humility aspect of like, couldn't you tell me that Miami and Tampa Bay are in a week 17 shootout and the Bucs are trailing and Rachaad White is playing a ton of snaps, in the 3rd and 4th quarter and like having games. So it's like, you don't want to necessarily be fully in the market of projecting exactly how a game would go, especially when a game flow could be particularly, advantageous for a player like it would be for Rachaad White.
Yeah, and we have a tendency to kind of think of injuries in favor of just like the fun direction and not the not fun direction. But like, Bucky can get hurt just as much as like Rachaad White could have gotten hurt last year, when we were all drafting Bucky. Obviously, he doesn't have the upside to steal the job from Bucky that Bucky had last year. But just in terms of thinking those injuries, it is bi-directional.
Yep. But yeah, I'm glad we got pushed in this direction with the 2 if someone asked me, like the builds that I think would be toughest to pull off, I probably would say something like 2 running backs and an elite quarterback or elite tight end through 4 rounds. Like you start to get nervous. Can you recover? But like you said, and this is something I've noticed this year, even in wide receiver heavy rooms, the effect of an avalanche just seems less pronounced than in years past, where we still got all of these guys around, picks. It's really in that 100 to 140 range. Like Pat and I had to reach for Jalen Noel, like 20 picks ahead of ADP, because like we just needed a wide receiver. And it's not even that, you're forcing a guy up. It's that there's no players with an ADP, even in like a range of like 130 to 150. So those are the spots where it feels gross, but this one worked out well.
Yeah, it's fun too. We changed up our structure a little bit in terms of, this is our first elite quarterback team that we've drafted in the 3 drafts we've done so far. I think we do have at least another somewhat hyper fragile build though. So we've taken a lot of running backs somewhat early. Oh my God, I'm just looking at our bye week avalanche here on this thing.
Oh my God, holy shit! Bye week bros, cover your eyes. I just tabbed over to the team Leone and I drafted last week. We drafted 4 running backs with 4 week 8 buys. Ashton Jeanty, Kenneth Walker, David Montgomery, Travis Etienne. They are coming for us.
This was pre-scheduled, right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was
holy shit! I don't even think you could have drafted a million teams and done that again. A zero.
One time, Davis was trying to make the case to me that having like both your tight ends on the same bye week was like a good thing because of the way the scores worked, and I'm like, I don't think so, man. I don't think that's the case.
Dude, we got Njoku and Cade Otton 2 9s. Man, yeah, and we have Travis Hunter, obviously week 8 bye. Isaac Tesla, week 8 bye. No quarterbacks on bye there. Unreal. This is the kind of screenshot that just sends a shiver down the bye week bros spine. I mean, this team has already been declared dead by the chat. No, here's the Galaxy Brain. ETN's getting traded. ETN's getting traded and scores 25 points in week 8. Let's see here. We have a super chat from Ben. So this is, Ben sends in a super chat, which means I'm legally required to pull it up on screen. He wants the sauce, but I already saw him in the chat just completely roster baiting to the team he drafted. He got the Eagles premium double. He just wants us to tell him how nicely his team.
Yeah, he thinks we're not really going to give him the sauce.
All right. 2772, Hurts, Stroud, Kenneth Walker, DeAndre Swift, Jordan Mason, Algier, Rashad White, Will Shipley, Woody Marks. So you're the guy who is stealing all of our Tampa Bay and Philly bringbacks. Nico, AJ Brown, Tet, Devontae Smith, Jaden Higgins, Pat Bryant, and Torrey Horton. Tight ends, Mark Andrews and Dallas Goedert. What do you want to say about this fish just slapping it up in our stream room?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go around and celebrate your fancy little Eagles double with this value on Jalen Hurts, look at that. Look at that draft capital you gave up to force it with Devontae Smith early, man.
Wow.
I was, as you were scrolling through though, I was looking for sauce. I'm like, oh man, I do like Kenneth Walker at that price. I was like, oh, I do like DeAndre Swift at that price.
I'm telling you. I mean, this team
a little wide, little rookie slappy. We've got like, little rookie slappy here. No,
this team is one Eagles wide receiver injury away from scoring like 44 points each week at wide receiver early in the season. If we want to roast it.
Yeah, well, let's go to the back end of that running back room too. I mean, how many of these between Woody Marks and these last 3 wide receiver picks, you were feeling yourself a little too much at the end there. Throw an Adam Thielen in there once in a while, man.
Yeah, God, what Adam Thielen would have done for this team as Jaden Higgins, Pat Bryant, and Torrey Horton are putting up zeros for you. You'll have hit the nuts early, Ben, and then unfortunately did not land the plane, did not drop the baby. So I'm sorry. All right, let's see here. Michael, we're going to have Kendall Valenzuela joining us here from Fantasy Life in one hot second, but let us know what you guys got going on at ETR this week. We obviously just drafted off of ETR ranks there.
Yeah, drafted off of the ETR rankings. At the solver too, we have the hot topic, the real-time draft assistant there that's been going. Also in the non-best ball streets, do want to note that we launched our WNBA package, first time we're covering WNBA. So we've got full stat detail, DFS projections going for that. I think the guys had a pretty successful first weekend with those projections. So exciting to shine some attention on that league.
And there's also WNBA dailies, I believe, on full slates. Obviously not one today, so it's not showing up. But you could use those ranks. Do you guys have ranks or just projections for WNBA?
We just have projections for WNBA right now.
With
I don't
with
know
a sub
if
to chat GPT, you can turn those into ranks very easily if you would like.
Yep.
Awesome stuff, Mike. We will catch you next week, or actually not, because next week is Memorial Day. So we'll be off for that one. We'll catch you the following week. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great Memorial Day, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome.
All right, peace. All right. Welcoming to the show, Kendall Valenzuela from Fantasy Life. How are you doing, Kendall?
I'm muted. It's like we've never freaking done this before, Pete. What are we doing? What's up? How's it going?
It's going good. For people, it's been a little while, but Kendall and I used to regularly host the SiriusXM Fantasy Life show together for a couple of years. You now host it with Adam Ronis. You guys do an awesome job, and wanted to get a draft in with you because you have been in the weeds. You've been looking at bye week schedules. You're doing rankings this year. You're busy.
Yeah, we're doing rankings. So just give me some grace here, because that's the way, Pete, that they presented it to me is like, they're like, hey, you got to do let's get some rankings on the site this year. And then Nando DeFino goes, the best day of my life was when I didn't have to do rankings anymore. And I say, perfect. I'm so excited to get going with that. But yeah, rankings are going to be on the site. Like you said, the bye weeks, everything's good. We miss you on SiriusXM, but that's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. And you know what? You guys do an awesome job. You don't need me anymore. You guys can answer the start sit questions without me. But yeah, what's that like this year for working on your own rankings? It's such kind of a behemoth of an exercise.
It's a lot, and it's like, we kind of always know that rankings are a lot, but when you kind of get into the weeds of it and you're like moving guys around, and like always, Pete, we're sickos, and I know everyone watching this is a sicko. But like we think about fantasy all the time, but then it's like when moves happen, even quick, small, big, large, whatever it is, like whenever those moves happen, you have to be thinking in your head, like, where am I going to move George Pickens? Like, where's this going to go? Where do I have to move CeeDee Lamb back? What does that do with Dak Prescott? So there's just this trickle down effect with the rankings that everyone kind of knows, but then it's only May. So, every single day going in, I'm getting prepared every single day to go in. Once like July, August hits, training camp, best shape of his life, tweets, Pete, I take those seriously. I know many people don't. But I love the best shape of my life tweets. So you got to take all of that into account. And, but yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun. We've got good stuff, but we've got good stuff coming. So all that's going to be live here in a couple weeks at fantasylife.com.
Beautiful. Yeah, we have a lot of cool things coming this year at Fantasy Life. I've been teasing a little bit. We have a lot of developments on the best ball front. Some really cool stuff for reviewing your guys' portfolio. So we'll have more on that. And Kendall, as I get the draft up, I do want to give you a warning. I drafted Derrick Henry on 2 of my teams so far this morning, and people are very scared. They say, please, Peter, don't draft any more Henry. I can't stand to see another Henry team. So I'm just giving you that warning right now.
You see the shirt that I have on, a little NFL blitz with Derrick Henry? I think it's a sign that we have to target Derrick Henry in the back half of the second round. Why not?
I love it. Real quick, Kendall, my screen is glitching on me, so I'm going to give a quick refresh. So if I drop off for like a half second, I will be back. As I'm doing this, you want to tell people about the bye week article that you just wrote? Any interesting bye week nuggets?
Yeah, leave me with your followers. It's fine. We're gonna have a great time, and we don't like bye Pete. It's fine. He doesn't need best ball breakfast. What are we doing here? But the bye week stuff is live at fantasylife.com. So Pete already did the correlation stuff. Week 17 games that you want to target there. I think Bears are traveling on the road against the 49ers, so a little bit warmer there. Good temperature. So the bye week though, the bye Mageddon is the one thing that we want to look at. But Pete, Pete, it feels like the NFL. Like, I don't know if Roger Goodell lost his fantasy leagues last year, but we only have one bye Mageddon, and that's 6 teams on a bye. Everything else is 4 teams, 2 teams.
All right,
so
Kendall.
Nice. Yeah, I'm back. Are you good?
Let's see.
We're having a time.
My audio's messed up.
We can hear you. I can hear you. The people can hear
All right,
you.
Kendall, who do you want to take? Do you want to take Barkley or Bijan? My audio's gone. You're going to need to mime it to me.
No. So 2. Bijan. 2.
Barkley?
No.
Bijan? Yes? Bijan, did I get it?
Yes.
Okay.
The people are going to love this.
My audio now is messed up after I refreshed.
Folks, what are we doing?
What if we did the entire show with me not being able to hear you?
Look at him. We could just, sign language. I think we should all know sign language. Pete, is it better? And let me say this to people listening, because you can only hear me, I guess, right now, is that I took Bijan only because I have drafted too much Saquon Barkley. And so that's the only reason. Like, you guys all know, you guys are in a ton of drafts, so I wanted to sprinkle a little bit more Bijan Robinson in right now than Saquon, but I don't know if the tush push gets banned. Pete, this is my show now. We've taken over.
I heard you are the captain now.
This is my show. What's the meme? It's like, I'm the captain now. Everyone's gonna hang out. No, we could hear you though.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, for some reason I my screen glitched, my Bluetooth crashed, and we took Bijan, but that was who you wanted, right?
Yeah. I was telling people, I was like, listen, I've just taken too much Saquon Barkley. I need to, sprinkle in some other guys besides Saquon Barkley. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at.
And what did I don't know if you saw it, because I know you wrote that article about the bye weeks after the schedule came out, and Mike and I were reviewing a team we drafted last week where every single one of our running backs had a week 8 bye. Did you notice week 8 is a running back by apocalypse? When you did your article?
Yeah, I said, bye Mageddon. Let's buckle up. But honestly, Pete, give me those 6 teams on a bye that week than what we had last year, which was fresh hell in weeks 12 and 14, because that was awful. But that was so bad. And it was like, you talked about Sirius XM people calling in. We had calls the whole show of what we should do, who we should sit and stuff like that. So it is by apocalypse, but at least it's only one time. So thank God.
Yeah. And one I remember that was really tough last year was you wanted to draft Bo Nix, you wanted to draft Drake May, but they had the overlapping bye weeks with a couple of the elite quarterbacks. I think it was Josh Allen, might've been Lamar. Yeah. And it was this year it lines up perfectly where I believe is it Allen has a week 7 and Lamar have a week 7, and they're the only quarterbacks on bye. So any other quarterback you want to pair with them is good to go.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the one that I looked at. I was like, oh, okay, this could be tough for some people. Like if you get your Raven stacks or whatever, your Bill stacks, a late Keon Coleman. But like I said, give me that any day rather than going through week 12. You didn't have buys in week 13 last year, and same with this year. And then week 14, it's all manageable now. You just have to be ahead of it.
Yep. Yes, or not draft before the schedule.
Or not draft before the schedule. Well, like I said, you guys are sickos, so we know that you guys aren't going to be doing that.
That's right. So we start with Bijan here. Post NFL draft, post schedule. What other offenses have you been getting excited about? I obviously had to put Cam Skattebo on the cover. Every video I see from you from Fantasy Life Socials is just touting Cam Skattebo, and I can't tell if you really like him or if just because he's an Arizona State alum that maybe you might be slightly biased.
Dude, I love Cam. First of all, I am biased. So anyone listening, hand up. I can't lie to you guys. I'm so biased. Cam Skattebo is my guy. When I went to Arizona State, he went there, saw the best game of my life, Pete, at the Peach Bowl. Went out to Georgia to watch that game against Texas. Arizona State should have won it, and it was absolutely heartbreaking, but it was fun to just be there. But now, Pete, it feels like people have overcorrected, and now everyone loves Cam Skattebo. I saw Kay Adams posting, about him in his New Jersey for the Giants, and I saw, other people from Good Morning Football post about him. So I feel like now he's going to be so popular where I can't even get a deal on him. I mean, people believe that he is going to be the not even the 1A, the guy in New York, and Tyrone Tracy's just going to take a back seat. So it's not even fun anymore, Pete. It was fun for a week, and now everyone loves him, and I'm like, shoot, well, this isn't fun. I don't get any value.
No, you can still love him. He's cheap enough to love still. All right, we're on the clock. Here? Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison, Tyreek Hill, McLaurin. Who's your favorite here at the top?
Oh, you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate a Marvin Harrison Jr. pick right now.
Why am I gonna hate it?
I've had none of it. I'm back on the Cardinals this year again, Pete. It's sick. It's wrong.
This is what I'll say. I don't hate that pick. This is just kind of a grosser range of the board. Like we were talking earlier, like on the other side, it's like you can start with CMC, Brian Thomas. You can start with Puka and Drake London. It just feels like you're kind of having to reach for whoever you take over here.
Yeah, and that's the like here, my builds, if I've already got, because we got Bijan Robinson. So a lot of me is always like, I don't take 2 running backs back to back in my drafts. It's just something that I do not do. We're wide receiver heavy here. I want to make sure that I'm ahead of the avalanche that comes. So I took like Josh Jacobs earlier this morning and I didn't love it, but yeah, I'm back with a little Marvin Harrison. It can't be worse, Pete, right? I mean, maybe it could be with Kyler Murray, but like they've got one of the easiest fantasy strength of schedules. So I'm back in.
All right, Jacobs, Tyreek, McLaurin, JSN, Rashee Rice. Who do you want here?
Let's do a little JSN. That sounds fun.
We're going to get, you also have to disclose that you're a Seattle Seahawks fan. Yeah. Don't you have a JSN jersey?
I do. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's in those nice throwbacks too. Oh my gosh. It's my favorite jersey I own. But I think they both have week 8 guys.
How do you think this, like, what do you think their offseason moves point to? Like, how are you kind of thinking about this team? Because they're going to look so different than they did the previous couple of years.
I don't know, Pete. I go back and forth every day where I'm like excited because they got Gray Zabel in the draft and they needed an interior offensive lineman in the worst way. And then I think, Pete, I'm going to have to like write up Marquez Valdez-Scantling every single week. And that I think is the most disgusting thing that they could have ever done. And Cooper Kupp, which to be fair, Cooper Kupp could be good, but like there's just something in me that I say if Sean McVay knew, just like how we've been talking with Mike Tomlin, like Sean McVay knows when to let go. It's the same thing with Mike Tomlin. So like to me, you look at Cooper Kupp and you say, no, we're good. We don't need you back. And then the Seahawks are like, oh, great value. He went to college in Washington and stuff like that. Yeah. So they're like, they love the ties. They love to do things like that. But it makes me a little bit nervous. I'm not a huge Sam Darnold fan. I think they have a pretty good out, back after this season if it doesn't work out. I loved the Jalen Milroe pick. That's the 3rd quarterback they've taken in 16 years in the draft. So like I'm cautiously optimistic because everyone knows me that I'm just an optimistic person, but I'm not necessarily excited. Like I hope Gray Zabel fixes that offensive line a little bit more than it did in the past, but Sam Darnold under pressure scares me. And I think Geno Smith did a lot to like minimize all the mistakes that offensive line did. He was able to make them look a lot better than they were. So I don't know, Pete, I'm not even drafting. I haven't taken one share of Sam Darnold, even getting JSN, even getting some of these late picks. Like I love Kenneth Walker. I think he's the one that I have the most of from the Seahawks right now. But I don't even star Sam Darnold on these drafts as like a late quarterback. I'm like,
doesn't even warrant a star.
He doesn't even get a star. I'm just like, give me anyone. Like honestly, give me Geno Smith that late in drafts. I just can't do it.
Yeah, and kind of like Nick says in the chat, even though Seattle kind of middled it, like we want to just do a little bit like we did last year, bring in Darnold, like we're not going to full tank, but then you take Milroe, you get Horton, Arroyo's are really intriguing. They are set up to pivot to a rebuild if they need to go that direction, which I don't know if that's what fans ultimately want, but getting to see like Milroe play some down the stretch would be very fun from an entertainment perspective.
When Sam Darnold, no offense, when Sam Darnold's dead in like week 9 because the offensive line can't keep him up straight, and you've got Jalen Milroe coming in, and that's the thing with Jalen Milroe. Like in Dynasty, he's definitely starred. He's one. I've got a draft coming up here in like a week, and he's got a path to success, but it's only if you can be patient. If you need a quarterback to work for you right away in Dynasty, like that's not what you're doing. But Jalen Milroe, if he gets the opportunity, just because of the rushing upside, I know his accuracy is bad. Just to be nice about it, it's bad. But I don't know, Pete. The rushing upside with Jalen Milroe makes me really excited. And like I said, 3rd quarterback drafted in the 16 years. Like I'm kind of down for it.
Yeah, and I will say, like, if it gets to that with Milroe, that's going to be extremely bad for JSN and Cooper Kupp. So it's like this weird push-pull. And just because Darnold has had some of these classic, infamous meltdowns over the years, I think fan bases in Seattle will be quick to call for Milroe if they have a rough stretch. So that'll be an interesting spot for them to navigate. And ultimately it's going to come down to just like, are they winning games? If they're winning, you can maybe weather some of those bumps. But if they're off to a slow start, we're going to start hearing the calls from Milroe.
Pete, I'm so nervous because the fan base is going to be like, yeah, give us Milroe. They're so like the vibes are high with Milroe. And then like just Sam Darnold, like the money, and he's coming from Kevin O'Connell's offense. Like Kevin O'Connell is a quarterback whisperer, Pete. Like we know that. And no offense, like they have JSN, or we have JSN, they have Justin Jefferson. It's not the same. It's not the same.
All right, we're on the clock. Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, Zay Flowers at wide receiver, Hurts at quarterback, Mixon and Kittle at running back and tight end.
What do you want to do here? What do you like?
I want you to pick. I mean, I'd probably gravitate to a wide receiver here.
Yeah.
Any of these three jump out to you?
Let's go a little Cortland Sutton. I haven't taken that much DK. Let's do Cortland Sutton. Like Bo Nix. I don't know, Pete. That's the one thing with my rankings. Like Bo Nix is a top 10 quarterback in our rankings right now, consensus top 10. And I've gone back and forth. Like he deserves to be there, but it still makes me a little bit nervous. I'm surprised they didn't get another wide receiver. I know Pat Bryant's over there and maybe a rookie that people are going to like, but I thought they were going to do a little bit more, but the ground game is going to be good with RJ Harvey. Bo Nix should continue to show improvement because the beginning of last year, end of last year are two totally different seasons for him. So yeah, I don't know.
I think we pass on the quarterbacks here because we have some quarterback stacks later. So then it's kind of like, do you want Mixon, Kittle, Ridley, Harvey, Pickens would be in the mix?
Give me Kittle. Let's go Kittle. Let's get a tight end in here.
I'm never going to say no to Kittle in the 5th round. I think Dwayne had a tweet about it the other day. It's just like all this guy does is crush every single year. And now he has less competition with Debo gone.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say anything bad about George Kittle's price. Like, I just don't know what negative criticisms I have against him.
It was like last year. I got him last year late in, especially in Scott Fish, because it was tight end premium. And he like saved my whole season with all those wide receiver injuries that we had. And so I agree. So now you have no more Debo. Brandon Ayuk, like I haven't heard anything yet, but week 1 maybe in question with him. So I'm with you on George. I love drafting George Kittle. If I don't get Trey McBride and if you don't get Brock Bowers, then George Kittle is good to have.
Yeah, and you look at, one of the things I was talking about with Pat earlier and the thing I've been wrestling with, and I said it to Pat, like, I love whenever I get to click Bowers or McBride, but the teams, I like my teams a lot better when I'm taking a running back or wide receiver in that range. And you look at some of the 2v2s, right, where it's like we got, Marvin Harrison and George Kittle, whereas like if you do the Trey McBride, you're now in the George Pickens, Addison range. And it's not that that's like an awful 2v2, but getting that round 2 player just seems it tilts it a little bit in that direction for me.
It's been one of those things too, where I've tried to make myself, we draft so often that I try to make myself uncomfortable in drafts just in case things happen in your redraft, those home leagues where you think that what's going to happen and it doesn't. So I've started to take Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, like not only early, but just in a range where I would never go for tight end there, but they're so elite, but it does, Pete, leave me, thinking about my build for like rounds and rounds to come. Cause I think to myself, well, I've lost out on some good wide receivers. If I don't have my running back yet, I'm a little bit behind there, especially with the elite quarterback. So it does make me uncomfortable, but in a good way. Like everyone here drafts all the time. So if you can make yourself uncomfortable, and that's me drafting a tight end that early, like not like it's George Kittle's fine in that range, but anything else, I'm like, oh, this is a little scary. I don't usually love it.
Yeah, and that's I think what's so fun about doing a high volume of drafts is you can push yourselves into construction. We used to tell this to people on like XM, right? They would call in and ask about strategies, and I would often say, well, if you have one draft, like do it exactly how you want. Like go get your guys, do your structure. If you're drafting 100 teams, like you want to make sure you're varying how you're doing it so you don't have the exact same team 100 times.
That's why we're Bijan over Saquon today. It's like I have too much Saquon. I don't know, Pete, if they ban the tush push though, does that push Saquon back up to the 101? Like what are we doing? I've thought about that.
This is my only thing I have to worry about with my guests is they come on and diversify their portfolios through my entries. You have too much Barkley over here. You're like, let me get the good stuff. And then I'll go on Peter and it's like, oh, I'll get a sprinkling of Bijan on Peter's account.
You're like Bijan really you're like, thanks, Kendall, at the 102. What are we drafting? Like the 102, you're like, great. Yeah. So that's why it's fun for me. It's your money. And if it doesn't work out, it's not, it's not on my exposure list either. Perfect. It's so great.
Right. What are the, What's the Sirius XM streets like these days? What are the callers? Are they in dynasty mode
right now? Dynasty mode to the max, like those rookie drafts. And I think it's in like every single year, Pete, it just feels like people like, and this is not, I'm biased. So I think we have like great Sirius XM listeners, but it almost feels like they just get smarter every year. Like they're in leagues where their league mates just know everything, where a couple of years ago, you know, the ESPN notifications, like you just didn't get the updates like you did. So these rookie drafts are a lot right now. And it's really, you know, it's early, you know, talking about best ball. We've gotten a lot more best ball, you know, conversations going, which is awesome. So like the week 17 correlation, we talked about your article that's live on the site, but it's a lot of dynasty rookie drafts. And it's outside, you know, it's not the questions about Amari and Hampton, RJ Harvey. Like people know those guys are going to be good, but it's like the Pat Bryants, the Arroyos, like you said, it's getting some of those later rookies that could, maybe not this year, but you know, 2026 plus, that could like make a difference in your dynasty leagues. So it's been fun.
Kendall, we're on the clock here.
Oh,
I don't
God.
see any quarterbacks we need to take care of. We're probably looking at running back or wide receiver. Montgomery, Judkins, Pearsall, Golden. What do you like?
Oh, let's go. You know what? Because I'm diversifying your portfolio. Let's go Quinshon Judkins. Because I don't actually, I don't think I've taken any of him. Cleveland's gonna suck, but that's fine.
That's basically the guy.
That's fine.
I was talking about him earlier, and someone was saying he was undervalued, and I was like, I don't know. I feel like he's properly valued, and I feel like you just summarized it, where it's like,
yeah,
Cleveland's gonna suck, but he's gonna get a lot of touches.
Like they're one of 3 teams with no primetime games this year, and people are like, oh my God, and I'm like, no, it's Cleveland, it's okay. Like we don't need to watch that.
You could set up like a double stack with Purdy, with Ricky Pearsall, Stephon Diggs, if you want to set up Drake May,
let's go Ricky. I like the Ricky with a little side of Brock Purdy. Just got paid, Brock Purdy. You know, just like us, our contract's coming in the mail. I heard, Pete. Everything's going to be great.
That's right. Yeah. Derrick Henry just got paid. Brock Purdy
just got paid. Good.
Yeah. So here's the team so far, Kendall. No quarterbacks yet. We got our 2 running backs, Bijan and Quinshon Judkins, 4 wide receivers, Marvin Harrison, JSN, Cortland Sutton, Ricky Pearsall, and George Kittle. And this next turn will be interesting for quarterbacks because Kyler, Nix, and Purdy all obviously make sense for our team.
Yeah. I like it. That's a great team. It's a winner, Pete. That's all I can say.
It is. Yeah. Going back to what you were saying too about like a bunch, I've noticed obviously like in my neck of the woods, you know, best ball continues to explode, but Dynasty has really exploded as well. And I think I know from playing Dynasty, I think playing all the formats like improves your season long play. Yeah. But it makes sense to me that the field is getting sharper and sharper because if you're thinking about player archetypes and, you know, career trajectories via Dynasty right now, that's going to improve how you think about your redraft. And if you're drafting a million best ball teams, that's going to improve it too. So it's funny that more and more casual players are like, all right, what do I do in March? It's like, well, now you can play Dynasty or play best ball. Like
I was at a housewarming party for a friend on Saturday, and I was talking to someone there, and they were like, yeah, I'm in this Dynasty league and I absolutely love it. And it makes me think about, you know, fantasy football year round. And I'm like, yes, that's I think the difference, Pete, is like before we would like callers in May was never like, we were never even thinking about it. But now when you're thinking Dynasty mode and you're especially looking at the rookies and some of your keeper leagues and all that, like, I just think it just makes you, everyone knows that watching this though, like this makes you a sharper drafter when it comes down to it. Like mid-July when people are starting to get into it, August, your redraft leagues, your home leagues in September, like, it's just fun because you know the ADPs, you know where some of these guys are going, you know where you can, my thing is, you know where you can get value. I think that's the most important part. And then you can, then your, league mates say, we don't want to play with you anymore because you're too knowledgeable. I had that happen to me. I was kicked out of one
You're
league.
Getting booted from leagues?
Dude, I was like, How soft. This was like 2 years ago. They were like, isn't this your job now? And I said, I didn't know we were soft. Like what are we doing, Pete?
I get the inverse. I was in a long time like keeper league, and then they would be like, "Why do you keep losing?" Or "You didn't make the playoffs this year." It's like, "Don't you do this for a living?" Like beating me was just this extra badge of honor, and I'm like, "Yeah, I've been sucking in this league. What do you want me to tell you?" Okay, I don't win every league I'm in.
It is
just
the
because
worst.
I talk about this all the time. I'm sorry,
dude. It is the worst though, because like we can't win. Like if we win, they're like, "Oh, great! Like we're gonna kick you out next year," and then if you lose, you just get shit on for like the next 3 months, 5 months, 6 months.
Exactly.
What are we talking about?
Chat's accusing you for a low-key flex there, being like, I got kicked out of my league. I'm not
No,
good.
it's not a flex. It's college friends. It's not even fun. Like, it's not even fun, good people. It's just like, wait a second. It wasn't even high stakes. We were doing like $25. It was stupid.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
That's a different animal. I once had my neighbor at my old house invited me to this like playoff draft, and he just did it. It was like at the local bar with all these old guys, and they do it every year. And I won my first time, and it was a pretty big pot. It was like $2,500. They never invited me back. And I'm like, man, I should have played the long game. And I gave a tip, like they do a party, and I like paid for all the stuff. I was like trying to get back in their good graces, but they were done with me after winning the first league.
You get it. And then I get like, I don't know, Pete. Then now I'm in like, GST, Adam Ronas has a league, the Greenwich Street Tavern League. So we're on the up and up. It's getting better now. Higher stakes. That's what we need.
So Kendall, Bo Nix got sniped from us, but Kyler's still here if you want to stack him with Marvin Harrison. Igbuka's still here too, and then you could also play for Baker to come back. But how do you want to play that?
Yeah, let's get it. Let's get Kyler in there, because I cannot start the show saying I'm back on the Cardinals and then say, nah, we should skip Kyler like that. We should do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, Kyler, it's right at ADP.
I like that.
So you get Kyler stacked. I feel like the big decision here is I don't think Brock Purdy, even though we have both Kittle and Pearsall, is going to come back to us at our next pick, which is 122. 119. So the question is, do you want to grab another player? We still have other stack options later, like the Darnold, so your guy Cam Skattebo is here too.
We have to do that.
I think we have to.
And then we have to just talk about other quarterbacks. When did Bo go?
Bo went right before us. Wow. Yeah, Bo Nix went at pick 93 unstacked there. So you want to push it? Push it with Brock? Yeah. I say we push it.
Yeah, let's push it. Let's see if someone isn't listening to us.
Did you see, Kendall, on the thumbnail that I put you and Cam Skattebo?
Perfect. Dude, I love that. I'm telling you, like the value isn't there anymore. It's just, but I do love that every show I go on, has me next to Cam Skattebo. So I'm just like, hopefully whenever, like if we ever meet, I'm just like, perfect. Like, by the way, a huge fan.
Here's the thing. I don't think all the values gone. I mean, you look at like the running backs going ahead of him. The draft broke nicely for Brian Robinson and Pacheco, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones. Like there's question marks about committees, about, rookies behind a lot of these guys. And with Skattebo, you're really looking at kind of like a head-to-head with Tracy, and his skill set, as you well know, is going to lend itself to earn the coach's trust, get on the field early. So I don't know. I know it's unfortunate that he's not like free because he was a 4th round pick. But I think there's still upside at these costs.
Yeah, he's a bowling ball. Like that's all you're going to see him described as, is like this human, like bowling ball. He's a good pass catcher, and he doesn't go down on first contact. And I remember talking like Tyrone Tracy was another fumble or drop away from it just like kind of exploding in that backfield in a bad way. So I just think that I do agree 1A, 1B situation maybe at the start, but I just think Cam Skattebo can take over that backfield sooner rather than later. And that's no knock on Tracy, because I loved drafting him last year, but it's a good fit because the offensive line also is bad. And Cam, like that is one of the things that Cam can also be really good at. He doesn't need a good offensive line because again, he does not go down on first contact. He's going to be that wrecking ball that tries to get through. So I really like him. You're going to hear, I'm trying to get him on every single one of my teams. Ian Hartitz gave me crap for the draft that we did a couple weeks ago where I thought he was going to come back to me, Pete. I said, and I should have known with our group that you guys weren't going to let that happen. So I think Jonathan took him from me. It was difficult.
Well, okay, Kendall, I have one piece of good news and 2 pieces of bad news.
Oh.
The first piece of good news is Cam Skattebo is on our team.
Perfect.
The first piece of bad news is that Brock Purdy went at pick 108 to the Brandon Ayuk drafter, and he had Jawan Jennings. So I get it.
Tough. Okay.
The second piece of bad news is this means we might have to start Sam Darnold.
No.
We're gonna have to. You have too much self-respect to stack up Sam Darnold.
That's fine. I mean, we can get him so late. We won't even have to think about him.
Well, the other thing is we can we can also explore other stacks. We have Kyler, so we can see if there's any other quarterbacks along the way. Here's our team so far for these audio listeners. We got Kyler Murray. We got 3 running backs: Bijan, Quinshon Judkins, Cam Skattebo. Wide receivers: Marvin Harrison, JSN, Cortland Sutton, Ricky Pearsall, and Kittle. So we're fairly balanced here in this. Yes, we don't have to take Sam Darnold. I'm just saying he's the one quarterback stack option on our current team.
Let's star him, and so I can say, give him an apology and say I'm so sorry.
Oh,
what?
I forgot he has the same bye week as Kyler.
He does.
Ooh,
thank you. Who said that? Rusty. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Charbonnet goes. You could keep the rookie running back streak going with Tootin. Shaheed is here. You could backdoor stack Justin Herbert, Kyle Williams, ETN. What do you like?
Let's do Rashid Shaheed for Cooter Doodle.
For Cooter?
Yeah. Just so I can tell her in a couple days that we drafted him for her. That's going to be, I don't know what that situation's going to be like, but that's fine.
Well, and guess what? If you don't like clicking Sam Darnold at pick 182, can I interest you in Tyler Shuck at pick 208?
All right, at that point, give me Sam. Let's star Sam. You're right. Maybe I owe him an apology. Maybe it's going to be better than I expect. Probably not, but that's okay. He's cheap. He's cheap.
I like Shaheed there as a wide receiver 5 for us. Christian Kirk and Tootin go. What do you like here? 1-3-5-1. Probably don't need to do a tight end. Nothing really at quarterback. Do you have a rookie wide receiver you like? A rookie running back?
We could go like a little Jaden Blue if he's there. If that's usually the range that Javonte's at. We can do that because we already really. I do like Jack Besh too. Yeah, we can do him.
Okay. I'm so glad we had that discussion before. I for some reason I've just publicly come out against one rookie's price, and it has been Jack Besh. So it would have been devastating for my personal brand if I allowed you to draft Jack Besh on my account.
That's fair. You draft, Derrick Henry in 3 drafts this morning, but Jack Besh is where you draw the line. I respect that, Pete. Why is he expensive? He is. I will give you that. He is a little pricey for where he's going. You don't like the fit?
No, I think that his, the argument has been like he's going to be able to get on the field quickly, which I do agree with that. He should be able to pass Trey Tucker, but I just think the way this offense is constructed with Jeanty, Bowers, and Myers, 3 guys that I expect to just command a ton of touches and targets, I do think he likely needs an injury of some sort to be like an uber smash, where I feel like his production's going to be more spotty. And maybe you're kind of hoping for like an Alec Pierce type impact, right? Where he's kind of like volatile, but then like pops up for some big catches, big games. But I'm just a Jacoby Myers respecter. I think he's really good. And I don't think he's going away. So that's kind of my best take.
He's been disrespected too. Like he's one of those guys where we just like don't talk, like how I felt with Cortland Sutton, like especially last season. It was like quietly had such a great season. Jacoby Myers feels like that kind of guy too. So I respect it. I respect the Jack Bash hate. It's fine, Pete.
You mentioned we drafted Shaheed in honor of Cooter Doodle. Tell people about your weekly show. Is it still untitled?
It's still untitled. No, we have no name.
Are you even trying to come up with a title, or is this like the Washington football team where you're just gonna?
It's the Washington football team 2.0. Like that's we decided we wanted the people to give us a name, and they were no help. No offense to all of our great listeners, no help at all, Pete. And then we got nothing from it, so it's untitled with myself and Cooter Doodle or Amanda. If we're on the Sirius XM airwaves, we can't say Cooter Doodle too many times because then we get pulled off the air. But it comes out on Fridays, and it's so fun. She's so damn funny, and it's just we go through the fresh hell with the Saints and go through everything that she thinks about them. But we do all the news questions. We get a lot of questions, dynasty mailbags, all that good stuff. So it's such a fun show. She's amazing, and we have guests all the time. You should come on. You should join us. You haven't been on.
I know. The only way I got on was I left voicemails. You guys had a call in.
That's true.
I've left some calls there. So yes, happy to.
Yeah, it's a good time. Amanda's the best. She's so funny.
All right, Kendall, here's a recap of our team so far.
We need another quarterback really bad.
Yeah, unless you're into Sam Darnold and Tyler Shuck as a quarterback 2 and 3.
But they have the same bye. That's the only thing is like him and Kyler are going to be gone. Same bye week.
That's true. What's Tyler Shuck's bye week though? By 11. You're in the clear there. You're in the clear. Tyler Shuck, Kyler, Bijan, Judkins, Cam Skattebo, Jaden Blue, Marvin Harrison, JSN, Sutton, Pearsall, Shaheed, George Kittle. The other thing, I don't mind like Michael Penix paired with Bijan like that. Yeah. I think can work out too.
Yeah, I don't hate that. So, because I mean, Sam Darnold, I'm down for Sam Darnold, but then we have to do some damage control.
Yes.
Some week 8 damage control.
It's getting a third quarterback, and that's why I think if you did do the Darnold route, you'd probably tack on Shuck so you can have his bye week covered.
Which maybe he shocks all of us.
So wide receiver definitely has gotten wiped out here a good bit. Looks like the tight ends are kind of nice values in here. Kincaid, Ferguson, Goddard, likely. We could do Benson as part of our big Arizona stack. If you'd like.
I kind of like Benson because there are some solid tight ends still left. Kincaid, Ferguson. Yeah. I like Benson just in case. Like we never want those injuries, but everyone knows like those handcuffs. And you wrote an awesome article about it on the website on fantasylife.com. But yeah, just in case something bad happens to James Conner, we have to prepare for that.
Unfortunately, we did I did the streamer mistake of talking about a player you want before it's your turn to pick, and Benson did go at 140. Let's see here. The Garendo goes off the board. So we're on the clock here. Looking at ADPs, it does look like tight ends. We could do the Penix thing if you just want to be done at quarterback, or we could grab a Kincaid, Ferguson, Rashad White, Ray Davis. What do you like?
No, let's go. Yeah, let's go for a tight end because I feel like he might come back to us. So we can do Dalton Kincaid.
Dalton Kincaid, little ADP value here.
A little value.
Kincaid and Kittle, this back in my day, this cost you a 4th and 5th round pick, and now it just cost you a 5th and a 12th round pick.
Uphill in the snow both ways. Like back in my day, that's how you had to walk to school. Put hot potatoes in your pockets. Like I like it, Pete. And then we'll get Penix. Why not give Penix a shot? Oh,
because he just I
hate it here. What is
going taking on? Penix unstacked. What are they doing?
Because they're listening to us.
Let's sit on a quarterback. Rashad White, Ray Davis, Jalen Knoll, Quentin Johnston. Anything you like in this range?
No. No, it's not going to be Rashad White. Let's go Ray Davis. Like we're talking about handcuffs. I still think that James Conner is going to get a contract. It's just
James Cook
or James Cook. Sorry, thinking about Conner.
I like Ray Davis. Like the fact that we double tap 2 Bills there, getting some cheap angles, and as much as wide receiver dries up, running back can dry up quickly too. And so now our room here, Bijan, Judkins, Cam Skattebo, Jaden Blue, Ray Davis, that's in good shape. And now we can basically reserve most of our selections for quarterback and wide receiver.
I like it.
And so it could be one of the stacks we have, or we could build out, teams like Carolina, you can build out a backdoor stack with Bryce Young. There's some stuff you can do there.
Yeah. And, with some of those later, like we've been talking about, some of those later quarterbacks, you might not see fantasy goodness right away, but it's just one of those things, especially in best ball, Pete, where it's just, you draft it and forget it. So you won't have to figure out. And if Bryce Young has the season, like the same start to the season as he did at the end, like you're kind of excited about it. So we'll see if Dave Canales can get through. They do have one primetime game this year. So shout out to them. Like we could be happy about him.
Yeah, who didn't? It was Cam Ward didn't get a single primetime game.
No, it's Cam Ward. It's the Titans, it's the Saints, it's the Cleveland Browns, which all kind of checks out.
It makes sense. Are there any games you've earmarked? I mean, what are you? You're close to the LA stadiums? Yeah,
I'm close to the LA stadium. So I don't know, Pete, anytime I mark a game on my calendar and I say I should go to this one, like last year I went to week 17, week 18 for the Seahawks because I thought they would still, I thought they would be good. Silly me. That game didn't matter. So then you're spending money on tickets for games that don't even matter, playing the Rams. It was horrible. So I have to learn my lesson.
Yup. at least when you have two cracks at it with two teams, Chargers, Rams, they're both teams that are going to be good. You can pick your spots. Just wait for some tickets to fall into your lap.
We'll see. The Chargers will be good. Like Justin Herbert's fun to watch. But the difference in games, Pete, between the Chargers and the Rams are like the Chargers are just there, and it's all Rams. Like that, I didn't understand that until I went to both of those games like back-to-back weekends, and I was like, yikes, they don't like the Chargers here. It's only the Rams. It's fine.
Yes. I mean, the combination of every local San Diego fan just swearing off their fandom, coupled with the most transient city in the United States and no one caring about football, is a bad combination for Chargers home games.
And they stuck with it. Like, shout out to the San Diego fans that like actually stuck with it, and because everyone hates the Chargers. It's just like, oh, and they're just here. And like even the production value in those games is just kind of sad.
Yeah.
Shout out to San Diego.
All right. Let's see what we're looking at here. We're about to pick in the 14th round. We got one quarterback, 5 running backs, 5 wide receivers, and our 2 tight ends. So we really are mostly focused on quarterback and wide receivers here.
Yeah.
We'll see what Haterade does. But Carolina backdoor stacks could be possible. One other wide receiver that would make sense for us too would be Michael Wilson.
Yeah.
If we wanted another Arizona stack.
I love that. We can do Bryce Young. Because Penix is gone, right? That was a couple rounds ago. Tough.
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking about, Quentin Johnston is also the ADP faller. He falls to 167. That's kind of interesting.
I'm down. We can
do you want to scoop up that value?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do the the value.
All right. Yes. Do you want to let out an
I love it. Let's hope he doesn't drop passes and we'll be fine. Or like is good.
Okay, so I do think this is kind of like a decision point. Like, do you want to set up another backdoor stack with one of these guys, or do you want to take Michael Wilson and then cobble it together with a Darnold, Shuck, Jackson, Dart type thing?
Yeah, screw it. Why not? Let's go Michael Wilson. Okay. And then we'll what?
No. I think this is the best. I think this is the best possible way to play this.
This team is something else. I'm trying to get all the guys that I don't draft. I haven't drafted as much yet.
Yeah, it's like I hate this team. It's like, well, you help me make all these picks.
It's because I'm talking to you, Pete. I'm not even paying attention. I'm just, we're just yapping.
How about another play you could do? I do think you could draft Jackson Dart on this team as a third quarterback as well. Yeah. Like if you prefer Dart and Shuck, because you hate Sam Darnold despite being a Seattle Seahawks homer.
No, we're gonna manifest a good Sam Darnold season. We'll get Sam. We'll get Sam in there. It'll be fine.
Yeah, we have 3 more picks. I think 2 of them are quarterbacks, and then 1 I think could go in many directions. Probably a wide receiver, but if we loved a running back, we could still do that.
Look at the test of time with Anthony Richardson. Like time is crazy from where we were drafting him last year to now. It's just nuts, Pete. I don't know. That's the only thing. Life comes at you fast. That's the only thing I think about when I look at Anthony Richardson, like towards the end of these drafts. I'm like, wow. Like it entices me. I sometimes take him because I'm just like, what if? But that's the only thing that you have is what if. Like the guy can't, like his completion percentage sucks, and maybe that changes and he becomes a better passer. But it's just crazy.
And I was talking about this with Mike, where it's like, I think the teams, it needs to be a 3 quarterback build. Because if you take Anthony Richardson as your second quarterback and he gets benched week 3 for Daniel Jones, like even if you have Josh Allen or whatever, like rolling through the entire season with 1 quarterback, you're probably sunk. So I kind of like him in the same way. We took Tyler Warren in a 3 tight end build, and you're saying, hey, he'll be our upside, and then we took, Pat Freiermuth and Gesicki. I think if you did 3 late quarterbacks where you're like, I'm going to get Geno, I'm going to get Matthew Stafford, I'm going to get Anthony Richardson or whatever, and just saying kind of boring-ish QBs, but then Richardson's my upside swing. I don't mind that angle.
Yeah, no, I don't either. It's just, it's only here though. Like we've gotten some questions on Richardson, throughout the show on Sirius, but it's just like, you would think that I think he's going to be the week 1 starter, but then you just have to look at his completion percentage. Like, what was it? 48.6% completion percentage last year or something stupid, like something so bad where you're like, I want to be excited about Tyler Warren too. And he should get a ton of targets, but are they going to be, are they going to be good? That's the only thing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's funny too. I mean, there was basically the moment, everyone was playing basically roulette with who's going to go to the Colts. Is Loveland going to go there? Because if the Bears had taken Warren, we'd be taking him pick 100 probably, 30 picks higher. So it is one of those things in dynasty players. We were talking about that, understand it, where you still want to have some humility. What if the situation improves? What if he's just really, really good and they involve him in a ton of different ways? I don't want to be out on a guy just because I don't love the landing spot.
Yeah, and then that's but a lot of the rookies, Pete, did not land in the best situations. I think that's the other part. Like, it was for us after that draft, I sat back and we did all the content at Fantasy Life, and it was just like, damn, this kind of sucked. Like, Emeka Egbuka was one that I was so excited to talk about and to draft a lot more of, and not to say that he can't do well, because Mike Evans, you can talk about the age cliff with Mike Evans. You can talk about Chris Godwin and the injuries, and both of those guys are getting older. But he was one where we were so excited, and Dwayne was up on him with the rookie supermodel, and then he goes to the Bucks, which in real life and for Baker Mayfield, that's fantastic. But it's the same with Loveland. It's the same with Warren. Some of these guys in their landing spots were just not good.
I hate to tell you who's at the top of the ADP queue right now.
That's fine. We're gonna get no one's good. We got him. It's our guy.
Are you? So I think this works out. We take Darnold, and then we get one of Dart or Shuck as our QB3.
And I might be going Shuck. Ugh.
So Shuck gives us the stack, right, with Shaheed, but Dart gives you maybe more week 17 upside. If you think about both those guys starting, Dart's probably projecting for more points. But I'm good with either way. Do you have a favorite of these?
Let's go Shuck. So then I can tell Amanda again during our show that we not only took Rashid Shaheed for her, but we took Tyler Shuck.
And you know what? Here's why I think that's right. We're trying to cover the week 8 bye, right? There's a much better chance that Tyler Shuck is starting week 8 than Jackson Dart, right? Dart's probably going to be more backloaded, whereas Shuck is gonna start week 1.
Yeah, he should because what do we talk? Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener, it's so gross. Derek Carr out of the league, shockingly. That was but I agree. And the Giants have the toughest strength of schedule, and we know Brian Daboll he's been on the hot seat. So if they're not winning with Russ, our guy, let Russ cook, then it's just gonna be Jackson Dart.
I think it's either. I mean, if Russ Wilson is able to do with the Giants roster what he did with the Steelers, which is keep them in playoff contention, he'll obviously keep playing. But the Steelers roster on their defensive side of the ball, it's just nowhere in comparison to the Giants. So the Giants aren't going to be able to stay in games the way the Steelers defense kept Russ in games.
Brian Daboll, first head coach to be fired? It's got to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Okay, so we're in good shape here positionally. 3-5-7-2. I think in a perfect world it's a wide receiver, but I think if there was a running back or tight end that you like, we could justify it for sure.
Should we just lock up some Seahawks love with Tyler Lockett? It's so gross. No, Jalen Royals maybe.
Let's also think through some of our week 17 stuff, just in case there's a correlation. Fine. So we got Cardinals opposite Cincinnati. Probably not much left with Cincinnati at this point, unless you got any love for Taj Brooks.
I don't.
Sam Darnold's opposite Carolina. Jatavian Sanders as a third tight end potentially, and then Shuck is opposite Tennessee. So that would be your Tyler Lockett potentially.
All right. Little Tyler
there.
Lockett.
The other name that I would be fine with, is he still here? Torrey Horton, the rookie on Seattle, for a double stack with Darnold.
Oh, we could do that. I like Torrey Horton. You know who Thor loves Torrey Horton, and he loved that pick for them. So like I said, it's going to be really gross when we have to talk about Marquez Valdes-Scantling in the Seahawks, but it's going to be way better when we talk about Torrey Horton.
Kendall is aware that Lockett is a Titans now. She just
I
has
know.
lingering love for him as a former Seahawk.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. We know it was sad but needed. So I'm just trying to show him a little bit of love. It just feels he's not gonna. I don't know. He's not gonna be good, but that's okay. Torrey Horton.
Welcome, Philly Phantom, to becoming a YouTube member. Appreciate you. We got Crutches, who I believe is on a European vacation right now, is excited to get back to drafting tomorrow. We'll welcome you back into the drafting streets. Kendall, what are you going to try to get a bunch of teams in on Underdog this year?
Yeah, I'm trying. I did one earlier this morning, but Pete, it was so embarrassing because I had JJ McCarthy queued up and I just got distracted. And who did I take in the 3rd round? None other than JJ McCarthy. It was I got it. I had to stop then. I said, okay, I'll just wait till my draft with Pete. But yeah, I'm going to try and get a ton of these in like usual. And then we start back up July, 5 days a week on the show. So we'll have to have a ton to talk about. And what better things to talk about than best ball drafts?
Yeah, I loved hopping on with you guys last year. It was fun because it would always be right after I did all my research for DFS on Thursday mornings, and then got to come on with some hot takes. And it's crazy how quickly we will be in season drafting mode here.
It's the middle of May, like July. July is when July is when it really starts, because then you have training camps, you got the best shape of their life tweets, all that good stuff.
All right, you want to lock up the Sam Darnold double stack?
Let's do it, Torrey Horton.
I think that's fun. Like if we're going to click Darnold, we're saying he survives. We're saying he surprises. And if so, there's going to be another pass catcher there along with JSN who benefits. Might as well take the 18th round dart.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
All right. I'm going to recap this final team, and you give me your thoughts on it. 3-5-8-2, Kyler Murray, Sam Darnold, Tyler Shuck. 5 running backs, Bijan, a string of rookies, Quinshon Judkins, Cam Skattebo, Jaden Blue, and then Ray Davis. We got up to 8 wide receivers, Marvin Harrison, JSN, Cortland Sutton, Ricky Pearsall, Rashid Shaheed, Quentin Johnston, Michael Wilson, and Torrey Horton. And then tight ends, George Kittle and Dalton Kincaid. How do you feel about getting all the players you don't like onto this team we drafted together?
Pretty gross, Pete. Wide receivers are good, but the quarterbacks are always the difficult ones where we got sniped a couple of times there. So we said, why not go and get Sam Darnold? I do like the receivers, getting that many rookie running backs can either be really good by, week 9 or really bad. But it was fun because we got to talk. And so that's why I love this team.
I feel like I like this team more than you do.
Yeah.
We were talking on the stream earlier how getting the 3 quarterbacks in Best Ball Mania is really nice because, we have to go through this gauntlet. You can see in the playoffs where not only do we have to finish 2 of 12 in the regular season, we got to go 1 of 13, 1 of 16, and then compete against 538 teams in the finals, like having the different quarterback stacks. Like maybe 1 week it's Shuck, maybe 1 week it's Kyler, maybe the final week it's, dare I say, Sam Darnold, who goes off against Carolina. So I like being able to have those different stack outs. And I think we did a nice job with the correlation. We got the Kyler Murray double stack, Sam Darnold double stack, Shuck with Shaheed. I think Bijan with a bunch of rookies with upside is a really fun way to take advantage of that anchor. Kittle and Kincaid is rocked up at tight end.
Yep.
We got huge value on Quentin Johnston. I don't know, Kendall. I like this team.
Okay. I'm glad. No, I like it, but I like, we got to hang out. So I was just talking. So listen, it's fun. And I got to, like I said, I got to draft some of the guys that I haven't done yet, over on my account. And so now it's on yours and it's perfect.
The other thing too, it goes back to, when you wait at quarterback, you can get starters in the last rounds. Whereas if you have 4 picks that are non-quarterback tight end that you have to make at the end of the draft, you get into dicier territory, stacking up guys who could be 0. So the fact that we were able to get a tight end 2 really cheap and quarterback 2 and 3 really cheap allowed us to, I think, really beef up our running back and wide receiver rooms in the mid rounds.
Yeah. And listen, I'm trying to get, some of these, especially the rookie running backs. I haven't drafted a team with that many, but for as deep as they said that this rookie running back class was supposed to be, then that means that some of these guys, especially when you look at like Dwayne's projections, he's got the floor ceiling projections out at fantasylife.com, and some other projections over there as well. So I'm trying to get on those and make sure, like you said, with the anchor, with Bijan, getting those guys and still knowing that you have a guy like Bijan Robinson ahead of him. I think that makes it all that more enjoyable for sure.
Yeah. And Kendall mentioned it. take advantage if you guys haven't yet with Fantasy Life Plus. We got all of the projections, the rankings, everything's up here. Like I said, with Fantasy Life Plus too, there's going to be some awesome inclusions for best ball players. We had the best ball hub previously, and then we didn't do much with it last year. It kind of stagnated, and it's been completely overhauled. I got to see what the dev team was doing with it, got to give a lot of input on the things I would want as a player. So you guys are going to love what the new revamped best ball hub looks like, and excited for everyone to see that. But yeah, just all kinds of awesome stuff over at Fantasy Life these days.
Yeah, it's sick. So everyone, just make sure you go over there at fantasylife.com, because all the articles are 100% free. So if you just want to check those out, and then like we said, Dwayne's got cool stuff coming. We've already got projections. We've got week 1 projections. If we're that sick, he's got week 1 in there, which is freaking phenomenal. And then like I said, I've been loving the floor, ceiling, median projections, Pete. Like I just like to see like the variance with some of these, especially with the rookies, and looking at what's the best case, worst case scenario for these guys and where they kind of fall. So week 1 projections, floor, ceiling projections, it's all there.
You know what? It's so funny too, because we were talking about Anthony Richardson, and one of the things is like, well, where does he project? You know, he's going at 170, but you see here, if he is the starter, he's projecting as the QB6 in week 1. Because his ceiling is so high and the floor is so high with the rushing. I don't know if I could take Anthony Richardson over Bo Nix in week 1 personally, but it just goes to show you how valuable his skill set is when he actually has a job.
Dude, that's why I'm saying I'm looking at him like maybe I should be taking him a little bit more. Look, 66% completion percentage. Like we love that for Anthony Richardson. If that just gets like just even a little bit better there, then we're going to be looking at him in, mid-September, like late September, being like, like this was probably a guy we should have been a little bit higher on.
Yeah, let's see the tight ends here. Obviously, the 3 we'd expect at the top: Bowers, McBride, Kittle, Njoku looking like a value relative there, projected for 7.4. And this is one of those spots too where it's like, this is why projections are tricky, right? Like we don't know who the week 1 quarterback is going to be for the Browns, but if you're just divvying up target shares on paper, obviously David Njoku is going to project well because it's Jerry Jeudy and essentially no one else. They're commanding targets. So this one I think will fluctuate, when we know more about the quarterback and stuff like that. But I do think these outliers are cool for just helping you understand who could be, pretty undervalued.
Exactly. Like Evan Engram. I think Evan Ingram's going too late, especially when you look at some of his projections. So I agree.
And I retweeted, Dwayne had a post that I just pulled up here on screen. He was looking at projections, value over replacement rank versus underdog ADP, flagging some guys that stood out. Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson at quarterback, DeAndre Swift, Kamara, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon. So no surprise, these are going to be all the boring veterans that project better than we want to admit. Khalil Shakir, Jacoby Myers, there you go,
Jack Dash
lovers, George Pickens, and then Laporta and Kittle there. But interesting to start looking at actual projections as we draft these teams.
We're sick. Yeah. So just go to fantasylife.com. Week 1 projections live now. It's just, it's so sick, but it is so fun.
It is very fun. Kendall, let people know again all the places they can find you: XM, Untitled Show, articles up on Fantasy Life, newsletters on Friday. Anything I missed there?
No, projections coming live here soon as well. But make sure, just give me a follow. Love hanging out with you and your people, Pete. You've got great followers here. So fantasylife.com for all those articles. Once a week. You've got all the Untitled shows with Amanda comes out on Friday. I'm doing a Dynasty show with Jake Trowbridge as well. That comes out on Thursdays. So those are super fun. He's so knowledgeable. So make sure you go and check those out. And then SiriusXM, we're live on Sundays, 1 to 3 Eastern. And then once the week right after July 4th, I believe the 6th is a Monday. That's when we go back to 5 days a week. So SiriusXM 5 days a week, 7 a.m. Pacific time start for me.
7 a.m. for you.
Oh my God, 7 a.m. for me. Not so 7 a.m. 10 a.m. start. 10 a.m. Eastern start.
Also, You mentioned that Dynasty show. I was
Yeah.
a guest with you and Jake a
Yes.
couple weeks back.
And you forgot already.
And yes, if anyone wants to see me play a character who gives
yes.
very
Pistol
suspect advice, Pistol Pete, you can go check that out. As far as for me, as I mentioned earlier, no best ball breakfast next week with Memorial Day. So we're going to take that one off. But Randomizer's coming back next Wednesday. I already booked Kendall, our colleague, our friend, Ian Harditz,
Nice.
who is a Randomizer Hall of Fame member. So we're going to kick the season off. And it's going to be part of a 2-part show. So I'm going to do a show kicking off Wednesdays at 1 p.m. I haven't announced what the first part of the show is going to be. There's a little teaser video coming out. But then the second part of the show will be the weekly Randomizer draft. Ian will be the first guest next Tuesday.
Love it.
And otherwise, regular shows this week, Swolecast, Ship Chasing, Off and on the Clock, lulls, all of that stuff, usual programming. But Kendall, thank you again for drafting a team and getting exposure to all the players you don't like on my account.
Now I'm gonna make sure to keep doing it. But appreciate you, Pete. It was good. It's good to talk to you. We'll get you back on We'll get you on Untitled, and we'll hopefully get you back on Sirius XM too.
Can't wait.
Awesome.
Everyone, enjoy the rest of your week. Happy Best Ball Mania drafting. Go out there, correlate some teams, hustle, play hard, leave it out all on the field, play like a champion. We'll see you guys next time on Best Ball Breakfast. Peace.